What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000, but the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I gotta have that Tiege pack. Tiege makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun, and a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Tiege Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tiege Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a Dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Tiege Hanley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a Dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Tiege pack. Feel the Tiege, my friends.
What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I'm your host, Anton Daniels. There is construction going on all around me. I'm supposed to have some people coming in and putting some stuff in. I got some delivery drivers for some furniture that's supposed to be coming in here. So lots of things that's happening all around me. Should be a pretty chaotic show. You'll probably hear some drilling because I know that they're working on a rooftop that's right above me. But we here. What up, fam? What's up, friendly family and friends? I got a great show that's lined up for y'all today. You said you love it. Usually, you know what's so funny, Ari? Y'all used to seeing the view at nighttime. So when you see the view at the nighttime, all you see is the city, and you can't really see the skyline. You can't see all of the stuff that's around me. And again, I'm working from home or I'm working from the penthouse. And I'll probably be back out at my other place tomorrow when we live stream. But I don't know. I'll see what happens. But y'all not used to seeing the view in the daytime. Y'all only see the view in the nighttime. So this is what I wake up to every day. Again, I got some more furniture that's being delivered. I got my Dyson vacuum, which I don't ever plan on using because I just hired a new cleaning service for this place specifically. Y'all want to see what the water look like out there? I'll show y'all what the water look like real quick before we get started with the show. That's the water. So that's Canada. And again, it's the entire place. My entire place is just water views the entire time. So this is what it looks like. That's Canada right there. That's Caesars. Caesars is over there. That's Caesars Casino over in Canada. So that's Windsor. And then this is GM right here. And then this is Cobo Hall, or actually what used to be Cobo Hall, but this is Huntington Place. And the place that I'm at now is Joe Louis Arena, or it used to be where Joe Louis Arena is. You got the Penobscot building, you got Motor City Casino, you got Comerica Bank, you got the new Hudson's building that's being built right over there. I don't know if y'all can see that, but yeah, it's a crazy view, and I think that y'all can hear the construction a little bit, so y'all got to get used to it. But every single room, every wall is it's the penthouse, so every single room got this view. You can basically overlook the whole city. If I turn it that way, you can see the whole city. So it's a city all across the entire city. So it's one of the reasons why I really really wanted this place is because I believe that this is the best view of the city. There is no better view, in my opinion, of the city. And again, I think that Detroit is incredibly underrated, to be honest with you. I think that is if you actually looking to get more bang for your buck, it's probably the city that you want to live in. Contrary to popular belief, it is actually the blackest city in America, even though it's a lot of people that actually live within a city that's not black. So it's crazy. Oh, and another thing that I found out yesterday is that the majority of the people that's in my building, so far, I'm the only black guy in the building, and the rest of them is black women, white women, and then it's a couple white men. But I think that I'm like the only one of the only guys that's in the building. So for the fellas that's actually looking to come up on some women that's looking great, I met some women down in the gym yesterday. You might want to consider moving into the city. You know what I'm saying? Let me get a round of applause for my people. So yeah, man, it's cool. It's a good space. I'm in a good space. We had a great show yesterday on After Hours. If y'all not subscribed to After Hours, make sure you tap into After Hours. I'm not gonna live stream tonight on After Hours, but I'm gonna live stream on Saturday night, right? So we kind of doing it every other day. So it's kind of like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We may switch it up and do it Friday. We also got Stock Club this weekend, so make sure y'all tap into Stock Club. That's going to be absolutely awesome on the Patreon. If you're not a bag chaser, if you're not a Patreon member, then shame on you. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Shout out to Tiege Hanley, 30% off your first order plus a free gift. It is absolutely one of the best products, fellas. Don't wait for the ladies to get it for you, and ladies get it for your fellas if he's just not competent enough to execute. You want to get your guys that Tiege Hanley. But life is good. Life is absolutely good. So shout out to all of the chasers. Shout out to the people that's getting to it. I had to take some inspiration away from Shannon Sharp, not to respond to everything, and I'm continuing to evolve. And so I've evolved greatly in that I'm here to just do the work, man. I'm here to do the work. Occasionally you'll go back and forth with people. You can see the crane over there that's actually pulling up and putting glass and stuff. So they're raising stuff up to the rooftop in order to make sure that they finishing the rooftop. The rooftop is actually going to be fire. I plan on having a lot of events up there. But I'm learning to just enjoy my season, to enjoy my life, enjoy everything that's going on in my life, and not get distracted by anything that's going on. So my life has been awesome. It's been absolutely awesome 100% of the time. And so I'm feeling great. I am great. Gym got me feeling incredible. I've rediscovered my love for working out. Maybe it's just the facilities that's here. I go swimming every day. I go to the gym, take a shower, and then go back at night and do a little bit of deep sea diving, get some vibes popping, and then we come up and we do after hours and we have a good time. So I don't have nothing inside of my refrigerator. It ain't nothing but drinks in there, and I go out to eat every single day and be in downtown. One of the benefits of being in the city and downtown is that you have so many food options and so much to do, which is one of the reasons why I want to have my office down here. So my office is literally 5 minutes away, but again, I'm supposed to get some furniture delivered today, so we'll see how that plays out. So yeah, man, I'm loving the city. Everything is awesome. Let me go ahead and read a couple of the super chats and the people that support the platform, and then we're going to get started with the show. All right? Got a good show lined up for y'all today. So, looks like my daughter is texting me, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Shout out to Mike That Dude. Mike That Dude, you get money like that? Gee. Gee. Shout out to Mike That Dude. Purple Haze is in the building. Shout out to Purple Haze. I appreciate you for the Cash App also. Also, my dog Marco, Big M Dub. Shout out to Big M Dub. Marco is in the building. I appreciate you, Marco, for splitting platform. Let me also acknowledge a few of the super chats, and then I'm going to give you all a preview of what it is that you can expect to pop out with the show today. Slan Sells Car says, good morning to the Chasers. Shout out to the Patreon members that's really running it up in the middle of everybody else suffering. You know what I'm saying? Legacy Builders is in the building, says, good morning, AD, Rita, and the Bag Chasers. AD, my husband, and I really appreciate all that you do every day to pour into your communities. Leader needs to be poured into as well. This is for you. Keep doing your thing. I never asked for it. I always just acknowledge it. So I just want to thank you, Legacy Builders. Thank you for pouring into me as I pour into y'all and adding value into y'all lives. I appreciate y'all. You guys are absolutely the most awesome community of people and group that's in the world. Shout out to my chasers. Self-Made Forever says, AD, I got something to say in my Ice Cube voice. You flying out women messing up the dating market and you don't even want the box? Shout out to 2K and AD for that laugh. Yeah, that was good. That was a good show. We was talking about that on the Q show on Monday night. So we got a lot going on. Kennard Young says, check your email when you get a chance pertaining to marriage. Okay, I got you. I'm checking my email every day. Shout out to Mr. Lot. Mr. Lot says, thanks, bro. Sometimes we got to see it just to know it's possible. That's why I show the receipts. That's why I show the receipts. If y'all haven't watched the most recent video inside of the Patreon, check that out. And tap into the Discord. The link to the Discord is in the description of the most recent videos that's inside of the Patreon. Shout out to Mr. Lot in the building. Darnell says, Baltimore is the blackest city in America, respectfully. You're wrong. You need to go and look that up. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. Detroit has been the blackest city, even though that's not nothing that we celebrate or champion because I rock with everybody. But Detroit, respectfully, has been the blackest city in America for a long time. Regime also says, Tana Don, you was cooking the other night. I seen that 12K live. You got the torch now. Shout out to all of my people that is rocking out with me. Y'all see me. We just working. We just working. So let me tell y'all what we got going on for today, all right? So first things first, we going to power through the quick hits really quickly. Secondly, we want to talk about Tiffany Henyard with regard to locking out residents in Dolton, all right? Third, I am expecting to have Dolton trustee Jason House on the platform. So I have some questions. I have a conversation that I want to have with trustee Jason House. We got him coming onto the platform today. I heard that there was some repossessions that was going on with police vehicles. And so instead of me speculating or tapping into other people talking about it, I'd rather just go straight to the source. So we're expecting for trustee Jason House to come on shortly. So shout out to Jason House. Also, on top of that, we want to talk about Brandon Johnson. We want to talk about the migrant crisis. We want to go into to rentals and evictions and things like that. And so we want to get to the money also. So we got a whole show that's lined up for you guys today. I hope you got your seat belts on. I hope you buckled up. We're absolutely going to be doing the work, and this is the greatest show, bar none, the greatest show on the internet. Well, let's just say the greatest morning show because we also got the latest best night show. And we got the best platform where we talk about a plethora of subjects, including relationships. So make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get it popping. So let me just acknowledge a couple more super chats, and then we're going to get into the show. Cartez Cookie says, good morning, Anton. Love the penthouse. You inspire, brother. Thank you to the Bag Chasers. Valentine's was crazy for me, and I appreciate all of you. Shout out to my dog, Cartez Cookies, one of the people that I invested in their business in December. P. Shank says, good morning, Mr. Anton. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you, P. But we working this weekend. Actually, I got a couple birthdays I got to celebrate this weekend. Rita's birthday, we're going to celebrate this weekend. But shh, we ain't going to talk about it. All right, y'all. Y'all ready to get started with the show? Let's go ahead and get started with the show. So you know the first thing that we get started with is quick hits. Quick hits is a segment of the show that we don't necessarily think that we need to dedicate a whole segment to each individual subject, but I got some very important things that we need to talk about with regard to quick hits today. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. First things first. Oh man, I forgot about that. I've been in the studio. First things first, OpenAI has revealed text to video, and it's called Sora. Now, this thing is absolutely scary. I know that we've been barreling ahead with technology and artificial intelligence, and OpenAI was the ones that kicked in the door as far as all of this artificial intelligence and chat GBT and everything like that. They're the company behind it. Microsoft is also a heavy investor in OpenAI. We've seen what happened earlier in the year with regard to OpenAI as far as them ousting their founder and then them bringing it back. And so it's a lot going on there, right? It's a whole lot going on with OpenAI. But I think that this is a huge displacement opportunity, especially for news anchors, stock photo footage. So many different people are going to be displaced. But check this out.
It is a beautiful drone shot. The kind of video that you might see in a travel video, right? Except it's not real. There is no drone. There is no camera. You can't travel because the video was generated by AI. It's from a new tool just announced a few hours ago by OpenAI called Sora. All it takes is typing in a short text, a prompt, and in minutes it spits out a 60-second video clip of pretty much anything you can imagine. Brian Chung is here to break this all down for us. This is cool, Brian. I mean, yeah, it could mean millions of people, though, could be out of work, right? Because who did all this video and what kind of an impact might it have on the jobs market?
Yeah, I mean, it's really mind-blowing. Some other video that we saw was of a woolly mammoth in a tundra. We also saw a little monster lighting up a candle, and none of it was done by any animators. All you have to do is enter in a text prompt, you hit generate, and it creates what you see in front of you. Again, nothing was shot in this case. It's all AI generated. And obviously, this is of concern in Hollywood, where you have animators, illustrators, visual effects workers who are wondering, how is this going to affect my job? And we have estimates from trade organizations and unions that have tried to project the impact of AI. 21% of U.S. film, TV, and animation jobs predicted to be partially or wholly replaced by generative AI by just 2026, Tom. So this is already happening. And I have to also point out, this tech is from the makers of ChatGPT, so very much a big technological jump for that company.
Yeah, but scary. I mean, Brian, what if I typed in right now, I want Brian Chung to tell me about the stock markets, and then I want him to walk down the street and buy a Starbucks?
You wouldn't need
could
me.
It do that?
It might, and you wouldn't need to do me. But here's the thing. There are some things inside the announcement today that came from OpenAI with regards to the way that they would protect you, for example, using my likeness. So usage policies that they already have in place, the company says, will reject violent or hateful images, sexual content, celebrity likenesses, IP of others. They also say that they're engaging policymakers, educators, and artists as they develop and test this technology, which, by the way, OpenAI tells me they don't plan on releasing to the public anytime soon. But regardless, even if they say that, what we've seen is that in practice, it's hard to stop. The issues with the deepfake porn, for example, with Taylor Swift's likeness, just illustrates how difficult it is to police these things. With video, it's very much an issue.
So basically, everything is going to be disrupted. What I'm advising my people is to become investors, because you're not going to stop it. Let's just be clear. You're not going to stop the transition of what's happening. We already kicked open the door, and you're not going to put the genie back in the bottle. And so the best thing for you to do specifically is to be an investor and be at the forefront of it, than to be the person that gets displaced as a result of it. And so I already knew it was coming. I see it. We hear a lot of the different things that happen within the industry before it's coming sometimes, especially as a technology professional and being a content creator. I seen Marquise Brownlee do a video on it, and he broke it down a little bit more. And it's just going to continue to improve. And so it's scary. I think it could be scary for a lot of people, especially when you're thinking about the possibility of what you do for a living and what the how people can be displaced. Again, I think that stock photo, I use stock photo and footage for a lot of the images that I use as cover photos and stuff like that. I'm even thinking about transitioning one of my channels, the Don't Do Coke in the Bathroom channel, into a completely different channel, which we will probably need a lot of stock footage and a lot of stock photo, even though I have subscriptions to things like Adobe, where I have access to a library of stock photo and footage. But why would I need that when you can basically disrupt what was going on and say, okay, well, type in this prop, create this 1 minute of video, and then you can go on from there. You know what I'm saying? So it's an interesting thing to see it happening. And it's just going to be a whole new world. Everything is going to continuously change so fast. And instead of rejecting it, the only thing you can do is really embrace it and try to get at the forefront of it. So that's what's happening with that. In addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, the former Hempstead Mayor is going to prison. You got to check this out.
Mayor of Hempstead is headed to prison. That sentence comes nearly 6 years after a routine audit uncovered questionable spending at City Hall. KPRC2 investigator Robert Arnold has been on this case since former Mayor Michael Wolf was first charged. He is joining us now live from Hempstead. And Robert, the former mayor initially fought these charges. Tell us about it.
He did. The former mayor was facing a first-degree felony over how he was spending the taxpayers' money, and they were in the middle of trial. Prosecutors called 7 witnesses to the stand, and the defense was supposed to start presenting its case today to a jury, but former Mayor Michael Wolf changed his mind and pleaded guilty. At the heart of the case are roads like this one.
In this case, Mayor Wolf, he was using his position and the taxpayer money of the city of Hempstead to benefit himself, his family, his friends, his supporters, and people he liked.
Waller County District Attorney Sean Whitmore says a yearly audit of city finances was the first red flag. It uncovered certain people getting a pass on not paying their utility bills. That led to more questions about how former Mayor Michael Wolf was spending taxpayer dollars. Eventually, prosecutors Bennett Dodson and Elliot Beatty amassed binders full of invoices and maps of road work that was never done or never completed.
Our theory of the case was the system was set up as such where basically everything at City Hall flowed through the mayor.
Prosecutor Bennett Dodson says he totaled more than $2 million worth of road work, all approved by the former mayor and all going to one vendor without any checks and balances.
When you looked at the pattern of these invoices over time and where the work was being done, A, there was absolutely no supervision of the road work, and the city had paid for roads that still don't exist.
Prosecutor Elliot Beatty says Wolf approved all these invoices himself and made sure to keep the amounts low enough to not trigger state bidding laws.
If a project costs more than $50,000, it must be bid out by law. There were invoices for $49,000, $49,800, $48,900, very suspicious amounts.
After initially pleading not guilty, Wolf's attorney told prosecutors this morning his client had changed his mind and would plead guilty. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison.
He can't go.
Listen. For these public positions and these positions of power where you're getting paid with taxpayer dollars, especially if you're a mayor, city council person, anything that you're using government funds or you're using taxpayer monies, or you out here giving contracts to where you have to basically be audited by prosecutors, the general public, and things like that, you have to be above board. You cannot be sitting up here running the city like a crime boss. And if you are out here thinking that you're about to get rich like Nancy Pelosi, and you a mayor or you're a local elected official and your city is getting ran down and all of this stuff, dog, it only take one situation where you're not operating above board to get you caught up. That may not even necessarily be related to the city, that then triggers people wanting to look into your background. We see that happening across the United States of America right now. One of the people that's being held accountable for it is Michael Wolf. And so before y'all decide that y'all want to get these public figures jobs or become a public figure in general, really think about whether or not you operating above board, or is something that you probably want to keep in your past that you don't want coming to the light. Because the minute that you open up Pandora's box, you can't put it back in and you're going to be ruined forever. And so they not playing with y'all. Even if you think that you're getting away with it for a long enough time, they are not playing no games with y'all, and they are going to hold you accountable. All right? Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Starbucks is deciding that they want to redesign their stores.
Hi, Sarah. Good morning. The company introducing today its new inclusive stores framework, opening a first location in Washington, D.C. with some key upgrades, including a new point of sale system that will have voice assist and screen magnification and support for language diversity. Customer order boards will give visual updates, new acoustics and lighting features, and power operator doors that are easier to activate from different heights and angles are also included. All newly built and renovated Starbucks stores in the U.S. will incorporate this framework in some capacity, capacity in the future as the company looks to grow its U.S. footprint by 4% this year from 16,000 locations, including licensed stores. North America's President Sarah Trilling tells CNBC the expected ROI is meaningful.
I think about it as something that's going to, help us, right, in terms of customer connection. It's going to help us in terms of employee engagement, partner engagement. And so if anything, we're optimistic, that we're going to get a great return on it as well.
Now, I asked Trilling, does this mean you're moving away from formats like drive-through, which have been hugely successful? She says not at all. And in fact, some of these upgrades, like better sound control, will actually help baristas working drive-throughs, as it's apparently awfully loud in there. Worth noting, store conditions were also a sticking point for some of the workers who have organized at Starbucks over the last few years. Sweetgreen and McDonald's are just some other names who have tested out different store formats, including some automated Sweetgreen locations and, of course, the new Cosmix location that McDonald's has, focusing on snacks and drinks. So you're looking at companies trying to really figure out what consumers want, make things better for workers, and also make some money at the same time, guys. Back over to you.
So Starbucks is basically redesigning its stores to be more inclusive. I'm not really sure what that means. Anytime I hear the word inclusive or diversity, equity, and inclusion, or black excellence, or black-owned business, or anything with regard to women, or separating ourselves based off of the people that decide to patronize the business, that personally is a red flag to me. But it looks like they're just making improvements to the stores, not necessarily a radical redesign, but I'll keep an eye on it, because I don't want to support anybody that is hiring people based off of preference and not based off of who's best for the job. But that's just me. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your Quick Hits. All right, let me read a couple of super chats, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with the show. Shout out to my dog, Bitcoin Brown. Bitcoin Brown says, the lady trolling on you last night was wild. After Hours is the best show. AD looking for the email or call to Cook Up Boss. I'm calling you this morning. I actually, listen, this is my word to you. You got the contract, so we're going to go ahead and just make sure that happened. I've been really, really busy, so it's been very, very difficult for me to get to certain things. But yeah, we cooking up, big dog. Go ahead and get started with that, and we're going to get it popping. I got some specific things that I want to take out and add in. But shout out to Bitcoin Brown and my people down there in OHIO that's getting to the bag. I do business with my chasers. Chris J says, I understand that this can be challenging for production companies, but I believe it is an opportunity to enhance creativity and imagination. The barrier to entry for you to be able to compete against these bigger companies, similar to when the internet was introduced, is exactly what this is. Mo Better, shout out to Mo Better, says, hey, AD, love the view of the Rensen, very inspiring, love Detroit. I love my city too. I'm so glad I never left and gave up on my city. Shout out to Chase Barnes. Chase says, happy Friday, broski. I just placed my first order of those cookies. Shout out to Cortez. I'm almost thinking that I should have become an investor in Cortez cookies instead of just promoting the business. But we want all of our chasers to win. We want them to be absolutely awesome. But let me get to this first story before we try to get my guy, Jason House, on the platform, because I want to share this very, very, very quickly. Tiffany Henyard is being held accountable for shutting out residents. Now, why would we get to the point where we're basically having a conversation about Tiffany Henyard shutting out residents? Why would that be a thing? Why would they, and why is the news now reporting on Tiffany Henyard shutting out residents? This girl, I'm telling you, she just can't get right. I don't know why she wants so much visibility, but let's get into it.
There is new controversy this afternoon for Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco has the fiery details on the public township meeting that was abruptly shut down last night. Dane?
Yeah, politicians don't always like to hear from the public, let's be honest, but under the law, you do have a right to speak at part of any public meeting, which is why what happened last night in Thornton Township has some residents there outraged.
When I arrived, there was security here. He was standing at the bottom of the stairs, preventing anybody from going up to the boardroom. I asked him if the meeting was downstairs. He replied yes.
Stephanie Wiedemann was among a handful of Thornton Township residents who came to last night's board meeting to speak their mind to controversial Supervisor Tiffany Henyard during the public comment section of that board meeting, which is required by law. But they never got that chance. They say they were blocked from going to the boardroom and sent to the basement instead, where they were told the meeting would be held. It wasn't. Before they knew what had happened, the meeting upstairs in the boardroom was over. In a matter of 4 minutes, and Henyard was gone. They say they were hoodwinked and their right to speak violated because Henyard didn't want to hear what they had to say.
We thought that they were purposely keeping the public away so that if they did invite us up, time for public comment had already passed.
Hold on, wait. So this is not what we gonna do. We not gonna have these good white folks. Let me revise that. We're not gonna have these good white folks being sent into the basement, to the back of the bus, and them not being able to speak their mind, especially when it comes to what is going on in a township. They are there as residents, which is by law their right to be able to speak their mind at these meetings and illustrate or emphasize exactly what their thoughts are as far as them being ran into the ground in a township always in the news for the wrong reasons. Now, we don't know what these good white folks wanted to say at this meeting, but what we do know is that you can't just do what you want to do when you want to do it. You should have recognized that this may be my... Look, you know what I noticed from a lot of people? They want the money, they want the power, they don't want the responsibility. They don't want what comes with it. You signed up so that you can make well over $300,000 a year in combined salary, especially when you start to add in the per diems and all of the perks and the cars and all of this stuff. And you don't want the responsibility that comes along with it. You don't want the accountability. Now, with that comes accountability. And so, it was a guy that was commenting in my comments on After Hours last night, and I was talking about how I had a meeting yesterday after I got off the live stream with the executive committee, and then I also had a one-on-one with my boss, right? And he said, I can't believe you got a boss. How a boss gonna have a boss? And I was thinking to myself, like, we all have somebody that we have to answer to. Every last one of us has somebody that we have to answer to. As a matter of fact, I embrace being openly accountable and never being above reproach, to where if I'm going to be an equal accountability smoke giver, then I also have to be willing to receive feedback from people that may or may not agree with me. Now, I have the right to defend myself, especially verbally, and we can have a conversation or we can have a debate, however you want to play that. But the fact of the matter is that every single one of us on this planet, and I don't know who told y'all what being a leader is. Being a leader is actually being below the people that you serve. And that's where we get it confused. We get these positions because we want to be a boss dude or a boss chick, and everybody keep labeling themselves a boss. When you label yourself a boss, you actually label yourself a servant. I don't know what they've been teaching y'all, but I'm actually giving y'all the game. The phrase servant leadership comes from Scripture. It was the reason why Jesus himself washed the feet of his disciples, because they thought that he was supposed to be heralded, but he wasn't. He was only supposed to be celebrated. And the reason that he put himself, or God actually gave his only begotten son to walk amongst men, was to show you and give you an example of how it is that you were supposed to live your life. And so he was the perfect example. That's why they call it the living word, because if he can do it, and then greater things are we to do, after he's already given us the example, then we have no excuse to continue to live our lives that way. So when you label yourself a boss, or when you get a position to where you have employees, or you have people that work under you, a lot of times what we didn't do was get the training or get the understanding or build our character to where we actually are supposed to be held accountable, because your job is to serve the people. It's to put the people in the best position possible. My job is to give you all of the game, all of the insight, all of the information, and then put you in a position to be able to succeed. My job is not to look to fire you. My job is not to look to boss you around. My job is not to look to see where it is that I can make the most out of you so I can enrich myself. My job is to help you succeed, understanding that if you become greater, then I become greater as a result of it. It's the reason why you've never seen me say, hit the Cash App. You've never seen me ask for a super chat. Although the people pour into me because they see the value that I already bring, because my job was to add value into you first, to keep the price as low as possible, to keep the barrier to entry as low as possible. If anything, I then invest in my people because that's what being a leader is. It's being a servant. You are a servant to the people. Your job is to answer and hearken to the voice of the people, not to make yourself greater. So when I see people operating like they just in control of everything and that they can tell people what to do and they can leverage city services and taxpayer dollars in order to do what they want to do when they want to do it, it's an automatic red flag to me because I know that you're not really prepared for what leadership is. And every single one of us have to answer to somebody. And I'm not just talking to God. I'm talking about if you are being compensated, if you are participating in this world, it is somebody somewhere that you have to answer to. The CEO of the company didn't even get that job until the people that are on the board decided that he was supposed to get that job. Yes, the CEO has bosses that he has to answer to. How do you think that they get fired? The board often at times has to answer to the federal government, regulators, and also other shareholders. If you are on this platform, you are serving the people, the audience. If you own a restaurant, if you own a small business, the customers are the ones that determine your success. They are the ones that feed into it. That's why I'm so humble. That's why I'm so thank you. That's why every time I get on this platform, I tell y'all how much I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and it does not go unnoticed because it's not that I'm so great. It's that I am just amongst a group of people that see value in what it is that I add into their life. And then I thank them as a result of it because without y'all, we don't even have this platform. And this don't mean nothing. It's the people that make you. Similarly, even more so when you become a public servant, when you hold a position, when you a mayor, a governor, a president, or whatever, for you to just ignore the voice of the people instead of helping them to understand and explaining it to them and hearkening unto their voice and figuring out how you can serve them. Yes, you are going to get paid for it. That is fine. That is your reasonable service. They're paying you to do your job. But at the same time, your job as a leader extends beyond whatever it is that your basic responsibilities are. It's to serve the people. So when I see stuff like this and people trying to dodge responsibility and accountability, that's not the sign of a good leader.
They are violating our rights. I pay taxes here. I have a right to get up and speak whether this administration likes it or not.
Now, they are going to file a complaint with the Illinois Attorney General's office under the Open Meetings Act. We reached out to Henyard late this afternoon, have still not heard back. And also shut out of that meeting last night, a local reporter who was just there to hear what the board had to say. We'll have his story coming up at 5. What happened when you tried to go upstairs to the board meeting?
The security guard won't let me up. He just stands at the bottom of the stairs like this.
Politicians don't always like to hear from the public, but some South suburban residents say controversial supervisor and mayor Tiffany Henyard has gone too far.
Yeah, they say she took extraordinary, potentially illegal measures to prevent them from speaking at a public meeting. Dane Placco has more.
The sign outside its headquarters says, "Welcome to Thornton Township, people working with people." But when residents showed up last night to speak at a public board meeting, they got anything but a warm welcome.
When I arrived, there was security here. He was standing at the bottom of the stairs, preventing anybody from going up to the boardroom. I asked him if the meeting was downstairs. He replied yes.
Stephanie Wiedemann and a handful of other residents wanted to speak directly to Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard, also the mayor of Dolton, who's generated controversy for spending hundreds of thousands of tax dollars on trips, police security, billboards, and her own personal charity.
I'm just curious to see who makes the decisions about how our tax dollars are being spent.
But they never got that chance. After being blocked from going to the boardroom upstairs, they were sent to the basement where they were told the township board meeting would be held. It wasn't. They asked for a sign-up sheet for public comment, never got it. And before they knew what had happened, the 4-minute meeting upstairs was over, and Henyard was gone, without hearing from her constituents.
They are violating our rights. I pay taxes here. I have a right to get up and speak whether this administration likes it or not.
And not only were the residents shut out, so was a local newspaper reporter who came here to cover the meeting.
I was told by a security guard that I was not allowed upstairs where the boardroom meeting is.
Josh Bootsma of the Lansing Journal says residents deserve to know how elected officials are spending their money.
Thornton Township is the largest township in Illinois. And so there are a lot of people that are affected by the decisions, the financial decisions that this township makes.
Even Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez, a frequent Henyard critic, was ordered out of the boardroom until the meeting began. Do you think any laws were broken last night by the way they handled the public?
Well, definitely. I mean, if somebody wants to speak, it's a public meeting, it's a public building, they should be able to come in.
The residents say they'll file a complaint with the Illinois Attorney General's office for violating the Open Meetings Act. Our attempts to contact Henyard also went nowhere. In South Holland, Dane Placco, Fox 32 Chicago.
So my question then becomes, what do we make of this situation as we continue to see this spiral all the way down into the toilet? I don't know whether this should be a cautionary tale or if this should be something that we embrace. Shout out to Leslie Aaron. Shout out to the people that's holding me down. I'm going to read those super chats shortly. I don't know what to make of it. You know what I'm saying? Because on one hand, I'm very, very mindful of, I get so much information about this woman on a daily basis. It's so easy. It's so easy to just, destroy this woman. And I was talking about it on After Hours the other night. But because I'm mindful and I make a concerted effort to separate what I think and how I feel about her in particular. Like I'll give you an example, right? One of the things that a lot of people reported on months ago that I actually had that information and people had sent it to me, but I rejected reporting on it, was her criminal past and her criminal history. Why? Because it had nothing to do with what we were reporting on as far as her ability to do her job. And so you've never seen me on this platform pull up a mugshot. You've never seen me talk about anything that she's ever gotten arrested for or anything like that, because it's not relevant, right? I know what her personal situations are. I know who she tied to. I know what's going on with this and that. And I'm choosing my words very carefully. But as people with platforms, and in my opinion, in my humble opinion, this is what leadership is. As a person with a platform that tends to have a voice and an ear of the people, and I'm going significantly up, like I'm going way up, I got to separate the two and I got to be objective. And so if it has nothing to do with taxpayer dollars, if it has nothing to do with your inability to do your job, or you didn't personally say it online for me to react to, then I have to stay away from it. I have to stay away from it. I can't talk about it. I can't speak about it. I don't want to deep dive into it. I don't want everybody else around you that may not even agree with your behavior to suffer also due to your ignorance and negligence in managing the city effectively. But at some point, it's almost like, when is this girl going to catch on? When is she going to learn a lesson? When is she going to stop doing what she's been doing? And when is she going to really figure it out? Or is this 100% just going to be her story and that's the end of the conversation and nothing else that we can talk about outside of this? Because I'm starting to feel bad for her. I'm starting to feel sorry for her. I'm genuinely starting to feel sorry for how she's moving and how she's operating and whether or not this actually makes sense for us to continue to have this conversation. So, considering that, we still going to keep it above board. We still going to keep it a buck and we going to keep it 100. And I want to share some other things with you really quickly. And so before I do that, before I bring on Jason House or before we have any more conversations, let me read a couple of the super chats. All right. I'm going to read some super chats and then we're going to get back into it. All right. So let me read a couple super chats and then I'm going to bring Mr. House up because I actually like what Mr. House stands for. Antoine says, hello, Anton. Question. Do I have a business? Do I have to have a business in order to join the Chasers? No, you don't. Right? We give practical information, and I think that everybody, it's information there for you for all levels, depending on where it is that you want to go. All right? He says, I'm a below average guy looking to change my life, even want a government job. Yeah, you don't have to have a business. Actually, that's the thing. That's some of the stuff that we teach. All right, so go ahead and tap in. The link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Jawan Hart says, the leader of the wolf pack walks behind the pack. Shout out to you, Jawan. I appreciate you. Dialect One says, even billionaires that own Fortune 500 companies still have to answer to the board and shareholders. Everyone answers to someone. Right. All that boss talk, that's probably not the person that you want to have. Most Hate Chris says, you are the source for true news. No one has tackled the migrant crisis anywhere close to you. And going after the Dolton mayor. I haven't even gone after her. I just been reporting on the news. Will propel you into the stratosphere. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you, my friend, for holding me down. I appreciate you. Most Hate Chris. Forsaken Archive says, this reminds me of the Tower of Babel. All AI needs to do is 3D print. Then we can do anything we can imagine again. All we doing is leading ourselves into our own demise. Leslie Aaron says, hey, Anton, what do you think about a master's degree in artificial intelligence? I've never researched it. I don't know anything about a master's degree in artificial intelligence, but it sounds like something you need to explore. Anything STEM related or something that's going into what it is that we project ourselves to have to have a conversation about into the future tends to be something that you want to get yourself into. More importantly, I think that when you're going into or you starting to figure out what you want to do professionally, it's better to be loved and liked. I think that the education and the job and the field that you go into, you're expected to be great at that, right? But you get things and you get promoted and you become successful based off of your cultural fit and your ability to network effectively. So great question. I appreciate you. I'm going to continue to read Super Chat shortly. I want to get into getting my guy, Mr. House, on. So without further ado, and again, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let me bring my guy, Mr. House, up. Mr. Jason House, what is going on, my friend?
Good morning. I think it's afternoon in your time, but it's morning in our time. So I'm going to say good morning / afternoon.
Yeah, you what, an hour behind, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So how's it going? How's everything been?
Well, I mean, I think the reports, you can tell that things are pretty challenging out here. It really is. And I want to kind of take a brief moment to just say, of course, I've been a fan of the show and following you for a while. So thank you for the great work that you've done and really impartial, because I know you reach out to all sides, which is the right thing to do. Also got to give some acknowledgments to some of the other content creators, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Hannah
Yeah, that's my guy.
Shawana Burns, Pink Book Lessons. So a lot of great coverage and content, and really it's been helpful to the community for Dolton, because it really does make sure that transparency is being had, even when there's the fight for transparency in the boardroom. A lot of this has gotten it out because people at the next poll, they deserve to know what's going on and who's going to be representing them, or you get a real picture. And I mean, and it does it for all of us on the board. So thank you.
No, thank you. And you know what's so funny is that I've been paying attention to you for a while, and you have a pretty impressive background. I mean, a resident or a native, or, they say a native, that's what the profile says, a native of Dolton. So I'm guessing that you're born and raised there, spent the majority of your life or nearly half of your life residing in a village, graduated from Roosevelt High School. It also goes on, if I go into your profile, it says that you actively engaged in the community, professionally served as bank president of U.S. Bank in Dolton for over 12 years, accepting as your current position as chief finance officer for Healthcare Consortium of Illinois, so on and so forth. It goes on to talk about your hobbies, but more importantly, married, spiritual growth, faithful member of the Valley Kingdom International Ministries. You have a pretty impressive profile. And so my question then to you is, how are you not the one that's in this position, but then we got Tiffany in this position instead?
Great questions. I know you start off with the hard hitting questions. Can we toss me a lob or a softball first? But no, I appreciate your reading of that, and that bio is actually outdated. So everything in there is, of course, factual, and it was at that time. I want to say that bio was put up there about 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
7 or 8 years ago. So in total, I have about 15 years in banking experience, about 10 additional years financial management in terms of being a CFO and VP of finance for a myriad of other companies. So all factual information, a little bit outdated. Also went through some, like many of us, went through some marital challenges, but those things happened. Definitely faithful member of my church, and always looking for spiritual growth. But to the question, how am I not in that position? I'm really not. I generally don't fancy myself as the face of a community or anything. Well, not the face of a community because I'm in this position, but I really just want to do service, and I think service gets done in many capacities. So when the last election came, I was asked by many people to run for the position, but at that time, I really was focused on my own personal growth, spiritual journey, and I elected to run as a trustee. I felt like I was doing good service. I was one term in, and I felt like I was still growing in that role. Now, what's going on in our community now has really pushed us to grow faster, be stronger, and do better. And I really have to give a lot of credit, a ton of credit to my colleagues on the board. Trustee Kiana Belcher, Trustee Brittany Norwood, former Trustee Edward Steve, Trustee Tammy Brown, and an unspoken hero that goes in there, our village clerk, Allison Key. I mean, together, everybody bands together to make sure that transparency is done, that we really do get democracy, or we try to impose democracy on here. So, I think timeline-wise, it wasn't the right time for me when the last election came around. But we'll see what the future holds.
So it's funny because, and I gotta throw you some hardball questions in there. I don't want this to be a completely softball conversation, right?
Okay.
From my understanding, you guys initially, prior to, and correct me at any point if I'm off or give any misinformation, initially supported Tiffany Henyard, in the position that she's in right now. Under the guise that she was actually probably best for the job, and she actually had a mindset to actually help and put Dolton, or do the thing that's in the best interest of Dolton. At what point did you guys realize, wait a minute, we might have made a little bit of a mistake throwing our support behind Tiffany?
No, that's a great question, and that's very true. I think during that election, we had three choices that each had their own flaw. We had the former mayor who we felt like may have reached his peak in terms of effectiveness. Tiffany at that time was a strong advocate, and it's so ironic because many of the things that she's doing today, she was the biggest critic and the biggest one advocating that it be done differently and be done on transparency. And that's what connected me, because I had already made the decision that I was not interested in running for mayor at that time. So Tiffany was the advocate. Mayor, include your board. Mayor, we got to do this. We do it right. And she promised to work with the board, work with myself and the other members to really bring unity. And that just, of course, didn't pan out. Then there was one other candidate as well that had his own challenges, but no need to smear. But from my assessment, there were three candidates that each had challenges, but the one that I thought at the time I could work the best with, or that was going to really bring some kind of aggressive advocacy for the community, was Tiffany. Now, once she got into the seat, and I mean, the indicators started showing virtually immediately. But really? Trying to give it time. Trying to give it time. I was getting calls from residents that I personally had asked for support and asked to support her, and then I started getting calls from them. Well, she won't respond to my phone calls. What is she doing? And in our position, we are here to represent the people. So she and I can have differences anytime, and that's no big deal. We're going to have differences. Our families all have differences, but we learn how to work that out. But once the residents are starting to get involved, and the residents are seeing, and they're asking for questions, and they can't even reach you to get an answer, that's where it became a problem. And for me, I think the point that I realized we really were in challenge, we really had a challenge, was once we got into board meetings and we would propose ordinances. The ordinance is the law. Like, our position is to create the laws and to watch the money. We had a board meeting. We had an ordinance that we put in place. I don't remember the specific ordinance, but she said, "Okay, well, you guys can put this on there and go on and vote on it. Then I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do." That let me know the law doesn't matter to you anymore. You feel that you're bigger than the law. You're unable, and we really have a problem. And it's been a challenge ever since.
What about supporters that she still has? Do you think that there's a supporter or a base that's in Dolton and in the surrounding areas that still support her? And why do you think that she still has that level of support?
Well, good. And this kind of ties back into the last question and a point that I didn't bring up. But yes, I'm sure there are supporters. And you can't be in this position without helping some people. So for me to come in here and say that she's done all bad would be an exaggeration, or it would just be kind of, me being on the other side of the coin. The reality is there have been some people that she's helped. There are some people that she's grown up with and she's known for years that are going to support. So there is a level of support here in Dolton for her. I think the overall sentiment is not positive or not favorable, and that's the reason that she's trying to mute or limit everybody's mute their conversation. You'll see in the board meetings, if I try to speak, she wants to direct me on how to speak, what to say, how I'm supposed to say it, and that's for a board member who's rightfully entitled to ask questions. You look at the citizens' address. They make comments and get no responses back. So there's a ton of residents that are stating their claim, and now the game is to try to control the narrative, and she tries to do it through deflection. So if you ask a question, you don't get an answer.
Yeah.
If you try to call for an interview, the only way you're gonna get an interview is let her know specifically what questions you're gonna ask. Then maybe you can't ask a follow-up question. Don't do that because she ain't prepped for it. And if you're fortunate enough that you give specific questions that appear to be favorable, you just might get an interview.
Yeah.
But the whole game now is trying to control the narrative to paint the picture that everything is okay, and it's really not. And that's the obligation of myself, my other trustees. Is of course our first obligation is to try to work with the mayor's office, which we've done. And even on this day, and I'm going to say this because I limit the interviews, and I have to because we're as a board we have pending litigation against the mayor's office, things like that. Every interview we have to comment. But having said that, and on this interview, February 16th, I'm saying, should she be willing to work with the board starting today, that would be the benefit of this community, and the board would find a way to work through real issues.
Let me ask you another question before I ask about some of the other things that I need clarification on, because I want to be fair, right? And similarly to how I kind of started this, and I've been saying this for a long time, I leave out a lot of the things from information that I get because I think that it's my responsibility to also separate how people may feel about her from the job that she's doing, right? And so my thing is, I want to know what's happening with taxpayer dollars and whether or not she's doing her job effectively, and that's the thing I care about. I don't care about what's going on in her personal life, but you know her better than I do. And so in fairness, let me ask you a question. Are there some things that you like about Tiffany, and what are they, if there are?
I would say when she came on board, I think there's some redeeming qualities. I definitely think she does have some strengths. I think persistence, energy. I mean, you see in the meeting that energy is nonstop.
Yeah.
And if funneled properly, it can be done. So I think those are strengths. But I also think the strengths are now becoming weaknesses because the persistence now is preventing her from listening to just logic. I mean, you got media all over the place saying this isn't wrong. You got residents all, here, everywhere telling you we don't like this. But through persistence, you're gonna trying to force it down everybody's throat that no, I'm doing the right thing. Everybody else got it wrong. What's that old saying? Everybody don't tell the same lie on you. So we're in. Everybody else is saying it, but that persistence, the strength is really becoming at a detriment. It's almost like she's got one tool in the toolbox, which is a hammer.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need a hammer, you need a screwdriver, and there's no softening it up for her. She only has that. There's no compromise. She doesn't understand compromise. She knows fight. And there's a time that you have to put your back against the wall and fight. There's a time you got to drop your sword and negotiate. There's a time for all of it. But if you only got one tool in the toolbox, this is what it looks like.
Let me ask you another question. I want to show something really quickly. And it's a letter. If I could show this really quickly. This is a letter from, it looks like State Bank. And it basically details and it goes over the idea that there's, I guess, some negligence on the behalf of bills being paid and things that's happening within the city as far as even police vehicles, right? And I'm trying to figure out, because the way that she presents it is, yo, there is really no problem. We should be able to do this and so on and so forth. And I've even done some research as far as the property taxes, how much you guys are paying in property taxes. It seems like you guys are paying an extraordinary amount in property taxes, and I don't know what the equivalent is because I didn't necessarily compare it to anything, but it seems like you guys are paying an extraordinary amount of property taxes. And then I've even gotten insight, that basically says that police vehicles or leases for police vehicles are looking to be repossessed due to lack of payment. Could you give us any clarification on that?
Well, yeah, and that one, of course, recently made headlines, and it's probably the biggest illustration of the challenges that we're having here. But the presentation that's given is just that. It's a presentation. Before the board meeting, we have another former staff member that informed us that that the mayor would force the employees, department heads, to role play the board meeting before they got into the meeting, just to be ready to have the conversation. Because it really is. At the last few board meetings, you hear me say it, and I'm going to keep repeating it. The agenda sets everything up to have the dialogue and the back and forth, because it's really just being orchestrated to try to prove her point. So with this, I've got about at least 15 different vendors who the board has already approved. Because with the board, we get the packet, we see if it's something we feel like we need. We'll ask the question: do we have the money in the bank? Oh, of course, I got money. I go get the bag. I'll do all of these things. So yeah, there's money in the bank. And then after the play and the circus is over with in the board meeting, we'll come, and then there's somebody send us an email. That the state bank one was extremely concerning, and it first came to my attention January 31st when I got an email from them, and that's kind of where a lot of the exposure initiated. But my first receipt of it, I'd say get the message. I send it over to the finance department, send it to the administrator. It wasn't intended to be a media thing. That puts a bad light on the community.
Yeah.
Of course, like my many other communications, it goes unanswered. No response. I communicate with the vendor because I don't want police cars being repossessed. I say, hey, can you give us a week? I'm really trying to work and reach out to the staff. 1 week later, I'm told in the meeting, well, it's been taken care of, trustee. I'm relieved at the moment, thinking that things are fine.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone at the very next day, and the guy, he's actually irritated. Like, why are you calling me? You guys haven't talked to me at all.
Yeah.
Again, I follow that with another email. Mayor, chief, everybody, you said it was taken care of. What's going on? No responses whatsoever. So we fast forward another week later, and we get the letter now that you're posing here, and then the media is involved, and now we got the stories unfavorable. The police cars are at risk of being repossessed, but it's all because it was a facade. There's no validity. Now I'm pleased to say this morning I've had a chance to speak with them, and they finally have received communication, and a check is being released. But the board released that check months ago. Approved it in May 2023. As a board member, if we approve it, it's supposed to go out the same week that check should be released.
Yeah.
So now that leads to many other concerns. How many other checks are out there that have not been paid? What's our true state of finances? And we do have current litigation. One of the things I mentioned earlier, just to try to force the mayor to authorize her staff, because her staff is just doing their job.
Yeah.
The problem is right at the head. So we're trying to encourage her, force her to allow her staff. I shouldn't even say force. Allow your staff to do the job that I know that they're willing to do.
So let me ask you another question, because I think that from the outside looking in, it looks easy, right? It looks like, hey, listen, you're supposed to just be able to cut the check. This is where the money is coming in, so on and so forth. As much as you can you give us a little bit of insight into how cities are run, whether they're smaller or larger. I know that larger cities obviously are a lot more complicated, but in a general sense, where does the money come from? How is it then allocated? And then how do you guys determine how the budgets are supposed to be balanced or where the money is supposed to go? And then how does that work as far as how you work with the mayor? Because I know that with, maybe let's just say other cities or larger cities, the city council, and I've talked to a lot of different mayors and city councilmen and things like that. I know the city council generally controls or they determine whether or not, hey, we want to approve this or we don't want to do that, as far as checks and balances. How does that work? Where does the money come from? Does any of the money come from outside of Dolton, like a federal agency or something like that? And then how do you guys allocate the monies to be spent throughout the city, throughout the year? How do you balance the budget?
So with the budget or where the money comes from, there are several different ways that we get money. The largest factor that we do is your property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Dalton's budget is approximately $28 million. Roughly 12, 13 million of that is property taxes. The homeowners paying their property taxes, and that money ultimately gets funneled to many different areas: the school districts, the park district, and the municipality.
Okay.
In addition to that, we get motor fuel sales tax. We get sales tax from the purchase of people going into the vendors and the stores in our community as well. So the sales tax. So
basically, the community is still the ones, even if after they paying property taxes, when they going to get gas, when they buying products at the store,
yes,
it all goes into, all of that stuff still comes back into the city. So essentially what you're describing is that it makes sense for you to create an environment where people would love to live, work, and play and spend more money because it goes back into the coffers in Dolton.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's why you want to encourage people shop Dolton. Shop in your community, because that money ultimately it fosters jobs for those that work in those positions. It also brings more money back into our community that we can continue to recycle and build a better community.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then when we're talking about the budget, the board's responsibility is, and it should be similar to a corporation. You have a CEO, then the CEO reports to a board.
Yep.
And the board's function is oversight. Our positions are deemed part-time positions because we should not be involved in day-to-day unless something's going wrong.
Okay.
The day-to-day functions of it, there's a whole finance team that should put things together. And if they present it to the board in a manner that seems reasonable and realistic, we will look it over and say, okay, we approve. But we also have to be knowledgeable enough to know which questions to ask and where to go and make sure and look at past year's results to see if the numbers being presented are realistic. It's really a check and balance. The mayor's office, the administration, they create the budget. They propose it to you. And then once we get it, we say, well, for example, when I looked at the previous 5 years of numbers for overtime in the police department, that we never exceeded $600,000 of police overtime. Last year, we were at $1.6 million in police overtime.
Really?
Yes.
And it's like 150%.
That's $1 million extra.
Right.
And it's attributed to the security detail that's running around. That's causing a lot of overtime and a lot of the manpower. So when that when it's presented
but for what though? What is it going? I don't understand.
The security detail that follows the mayor everywhere that she goes, that's police. Those are police officers.
So basically the taxpayers are the ones that's paying for that.
Yes, absolutely. So as a board member, when we get presented with a budget and we see, well, 5 years straight, we've never went over 600,000. But this year we're asking you to approve 1.6 million. Of course, there's going to be questions. Of course, the board is not going to be in favor of it because clearly we can't afford it. We can't even afford to pay the police cars. And now you're asking us to put an extra $1 million so that you can have your own personal security following you around. If those officers are going out on the street and securing the community, that's a totally different conversation, and you get a different outcome.
So how does that work though? Because let's say, for example, she says, okay, whatever, special circumstance, I need these people to, come and protect me or whatever, so on and so forth. Because I do know that there was situations where she felt like she needed extra protection for whatever reason at that particular time, right?
Yes.
Because a budget is put together beforehand, right? And so
Yeah.
when we're projecting what it is that you guys need to allocate resources to, but then she say, okay, well, I'm declaring a personal emergency or something like that, where I need to allocate additional funds for this. Two questions. A, how do you what happens if you say no? We not giving you no more extra money because this makes sense. This doesn't make sense. That's number one.
Good.
And then B, how do you deal with the fact that you did approve a budget, proactively as far as how the city is supposed to be operating, but then you go outside of the parameters for that budget, or she personally goes outside of the parameters for that budget. And then I'm also leading you into a conversation about this ice skating rink, right? How do you manage that as a trustee or oversight for what the mayor ultimately determines that they're going to do, regardless of whatever it is that you say?
So a lot of good directions on there. So the budget itself is a plan. There's nobody that has the crystal ball that can like really give you the exact what's going to happen. So your budget is your blueprint that you want to stick to. And if you get so far off the budget, it's time to sit back down at the table and re-budget. No different than what you do in your house. I got an idea every month. If I make $2,500 a month, I know I got $1,800 worth of bills and I got my blueprint. But if I were to have a furnace blowout or something else, that's not budgeted for, and if it is, it's because I plan for savings. But you can never predict it. And so when we look at the budget, we're going off of what the best expectation based on what we know today.
Yep.
And if an emergency comes, it still should be presented to the board and say, well, we didn't budget for this, but we've had 10 water main breaks. This is an unusual year.
Yeah, y'all did. Y'all have had a lot of water.
Yeah, we did. So let's present that to the board, and of course the board is going to say yes, we know we need it. And if we go extremely off budget, we'll sit back down at the table and look. Well, we needed the money for the water main breaks. What else in the budget can we reduce to make up for that? And that's the way it should go in a functional community.
Or is it an increase though? Right? Do we increase property taxes? How do we play that out though?
And all things are opportunities because you could either increase revenue or decrease costs somewhere else. So you can increase revenue. You can go out there and look for grant money as an opportunity, and those are things that should happen, of course, amongst the board, and they should happen publicly in front of the residents so the residents understand what's going on. My thing is always, if we're going to do a tax increase, let's make sure that the residents know that we've exhausted all other avenues, or we're going to do an increase. This is what you're going to get for that money, so you know that you got the bang for your buck. But all those things should happen openly in front of the community and transparently. The way it's happening in Dolton is we'll pass a budget, and then the mayor will go out and commit to expenses that are totally outside the budget.
Yeah, how do you deal with that though?
That's the chaos, because that's a great question, and there's not a solid solve for it. Because when a vendor gets a phone call from a mayor, the automatic assumption is the mayor has the authority and is working within the confines of the budget, and then they'll send an invoice and then we get the bill for, let's say we budgeted $400,000 for sidewalk repair, which is a great thing. We get an invoice for $1 million, $600,000 more than we budgeted for. Now, as a board member, I'm in a really tricky position because I can either say, yes, I approve it because we want our residents to have those nice things, but now that took a hit on our budget and it's going to strain the cash to the point that we're at right now. And the mayor's office has repeatedly put things out there, paid for things, hired, and then gives it to the board and says, well, I already did it, so you got to approve it. I'm going to Vegas first class.
Yeah, that's
Here
crazy.
you go, it's done. Now you're going now approve it.
So because I have seen meetings where, you've personally brought her to the front of the congregation or certain spending and expenses into the front of the congregation to say, hey, listen, hold on, man, you over here at Bubblegum Shrimp and you know what I'm saying? I know y'all over here having a good time at Ruth Chris and y'all spending $600 for pizza and y'all got these hotel rooms and you're making it rain over here, and then, all of this and so on and so forth. Hold on now. Why should we have to pay for that? So what happens if when you say, no, I don't necessarily agree with the way that y'all spending money? Does she have to pay for that out of her own pocket? Does the city still have to pay for it? Is it a warning to where, hey, we letting you know, listen, we don't want to keep having this happen? How do you guys resolve that? I don't understand how that works.
It ultimately is going to end up in court because once the mayor's office commits to it, the vendor feels that they have a commitment or an obligation from the mayor. Now, the board is the one that's the rightful holder of approval and non-approval. But the vendor has done some work, and then the vendor can either we sit down and try to settle it, which is the ideal way, or the vendor can sue. However, the defense, the legal defense to that is they entered into a contract with a person that wasn't authorized to enter the contract. And most people will assume, oh, that's the mayor. She must be authorized. She's not the corporate authority. That's the entire process of the checks and balances. I had one attorney that kind of shared with me. It's similar to if you were to go into Target today and just start washing the windows, sweeping the floor, and then send Target a bill. And they're going to say, why am I getting a bill? Well, you say, well, I did the service, but I didn't talk to anybody who was authorized to tell me to do the service. And that's what we're running into in Dolton. But it looks very bad for the community, for everybody involved.
What about because a lot of people are, or even myself, because I was thinking, okay, wait a minute, she's holding two different positions, Thornton Township and then Dolton Mayor, right? And then obviously they did the news report that basically said that apparently she had passed some kind of law or ordinance that basically illustrated if anybody was to run and unseat her within a township office or the township supervisor, that their pay would then be reduced to whatever the crazy amount was that it was reduced to. But you guys kind of oversee what's happening in Dolton, right? How do you, because it's kind of bleeding over, right? What's happening, or what her ability to do her job effectively in Thornton Township as a supervisor is kind of sort of bleeding over with what it is that she's supposed to be doing as a Dolton mayor, right? Because it seems like the city is just her personal piggy bank, and it's her credit card for her to be able to do whatever it is that she want to do. And her total compensation, if you really go based off of lifestyle, is exceptionally more than whatever it is her combined salaries are, right? How do you guys manage through the visibility that's being created and even things that she's doing in Thornton Township starting to affect what it is that y'all already going through in Dolton?
It's a big challenge, but also we try to do things as much as possible through partnerships, because that's also going to be the way we'll have to get out of the financial challenge we're in once everybody sits down at the table. But we really just try to manage. Again, I give a lot of credit to my fellow colleagues on the Dolton board because we work very well together. We also get some support from other elected officials, other state senators, state representatives. So that's the part of it that as you keep exposing and keep talking about what's going on, you lean on each other, you try to come up with the right solution. And over time, I'm sure it is. I'm sure all things are happening. I don't understand exactly why, but I'm sure it is God's will that this is occurring. And I'm sure that as we persist, we'll get out of it.
Are you scared?
Scared? No. What would I be scared of?
Her. She controls the police department and stuff, right? You don't have some semblance of fear because, hey, listen, I'm in Dolton. She got because there's been business owners that said, hey, wait a minute, she leveraging her power, you know what I'm saying, to squeeze me out of the business and stuff. You don't have some level of fear?
That was such an unexpected question.
I'm gonna ask the questions that I really do be thinking about. Like, man, wait a minute, this chick.
I'm no more concerned than I would be as a human that's going out into this world. You gotta look around. You gotta keep your eyes open for potential threats and everything else. At the end of the day, I believe that all the employees are doing as instructed, and they are good people. So a lot of times people say, okay, well, who's talking to her? Where is she getting her advice from? I think she's taking her own counsel. My issue at this moment is strictly with the mayor's office. Those who are reporting to her are doing as instructed, but I think they're good-hearted people. They're well-intentioned, and they're getting bad leadership. So I'm no more concerned today walking out the door than I would have been 2 years or 3 years ago, because there's obstacles out there in life, and you do your best to prepare for it. You do the right things, and you get taken care of.
Do you think she hates you?
I can't even really give it any brain energy to care.
Well, you becoming an op now, right? Because you used to love her or you used to support her, but because you're holding her accountable, and even though you're being objective because you're looking at it from the perspective of what's best for the city, people don't think like that. They just think, oh man, look, Jason, he the op now. You know what I'm saying?
And that's really unfortunate that it's viewed, and that's part of the divide that we see in Dolton specifically today, because people are instructed. It almost feels like you have to choose a side, the trustees or the mayor or this one. I have a lot of great residents that call me, and the ones that really help me to be a better version of myself and a better trustee, they challenge me. I get challenged all the time. I have a couple of them that I refer to. I say, man, you guys they love me to death. They are my biggest critics. And every time they make me to be a better person, look at things through a different lens. So,
that might be a man thing though, Mr. House.
Yeah.
Yeah, because because we don't take constructive criticism or people holding us accountable as a negative thing. We take it to mean they're actually just having a conversation with us because they want the best out of us, right? Whereas I tend to see more women, not all, but I tend to see more women take it emotional or taking it personal when you hold them accountable, and then it turns into a dumpster fire versus it just being exactly what it was, that we could have mitigated what the problem was if you would have took it a completely different way. I think that's just because you're a man, man.
Well, no, I don't. I see it as a human thing.
You're such a good politician. When you running for mayor, Mr. House?
Think about this. Those who are not doing the right thing have a problem being held accountable.
Okay.
Those who are doing the right. I have 3 amazing women that serve on the board with me, and behind the scenes, we back and forth at it, and I hold them accountable. And I've heard Trustee Norwood and Trustee Bell. Okay, you right about that one. And sometimes they come at me. So I think it's a human thing. And when we're ready to receive the criticism and the feedback, there's times that I get defensive. And I got to walk away and come back to the table and figure it out. But as humans, and as we progress to try to be better people, we really are. It's really our challenge. And in the position, the seats that we hold, it's our duty to try to figure out the right things.
Would you ever consider running for these positions? And then here's the second question to that. Do you even have the capacity? And actually, I'm going to ask a third question. So I'm going to ask three questions. Would you consider ever running for the position? A, because I personally feel like, I believe that based off of what I've seen over a period of time, especially with your level of transparency and wanting to do the best thing for the city, and me even having this conversation with you right now, I believe that you probably are best to be the face of what Dolton is supposed to be, right? So A, would you ever run for it? B, do you have the capacity? And then C, do you even want that level of visibility? Because now y'all got the spotlight on y'all. And it's not just managing the city anymore. It's actually cleaning up the mess, that if you were to even go for that position and get it, now you have to kind of sort of take a step back in order to take 2 steps forward. Would you even be interested in that type of position in the first place? Because it's a lot.
No, it absolutely is a lot. There's well, I'm currently giving strong consideration. So would I do it? Yes, I would do it. I'm giving consideration now. I have a lot of friends.
You might need to be the mayor of Chicago, man. I'm gonna just be honest. No. I'm gonna be honest with you, Ms. Giles. You might have to move over to Chicago and take over, because I don't like what's going over there in Chicago. I don't like it.
Oh, hey, I love Dolton. Born, raised here, so that's what my heart and my commitment is to, and I'm gonna stick to that. I really want to stick to that, but no, there's been some strong consideration given to it. I still have some very close loved ones that I want to make sure I get the blessings and things from. But there's a little bit of a timeline before petitions go out, and that's when all official announcements will be made. And as you talk about what it would take to clean this up, I definitely think I have the capacity, I have the skill set. I've been through some difficult times personally and made it out there and come out on the other side very, very successful. I've managed other organizations through some difficult times and we've come out extremely successful. So I think this is actually probably in my wheelhouse, if I had to be honest about it. But the biggest thing for me is the opportunity to serve. Like I come in this, and because I don't like the term when people say politician, I consider myself a servant.
Yeah.
And the minute we start looking at it like I'm the leader, I'm the most powerful, this and doing that, we're losing perspective of why we entered into these seats as well. Because leadership is responsibility. Anybody who's been a husband, any parent knows that you're really not in charge of anything. You're just managing to try to make sure that everybody else is in position to be successful.
Yep.
And that's a huge responsibility. And if God blesses you to be in that seat, it must see something in you. So I think that it's important right now. And one of the biggest things I want to kind of bring out is the way that Dolton is being portrayed, because sometimes I see reports where they're saying, oh, this lowly community of people that earn on average $25,000 and things like that. That's not Dolton. That's not the Dolton I live in. The Dolton I live in, we do have some homes that might sell for $40,000 or $50,000, but many people don't talk about. We have homes that approach $275,000, $300,000 in value.
Yeah.
We got doctors and attorneys and all, the whole gamut. Dolton is just a very, very real community of hardworking people, intelligent people, and I think we're being judged because of the dysfunction, and it doesn't really show our best side.
I'm one of your biggest advocates. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I am a huge fan of who you are and what you represent, and your spirituality and your background and your mindset towards people, and even your ability to be able to answer some of my questions. It's incredible, because a lot of people get tripped up, but you don't seem to be.
I'm gonna tell you what. Next time you got to give me a list. I'm not coming on here. You got to ask me, am I afraid? I was like, wait a minute. Do you know something I don't know?
Let me ask you one more question, because I don't want to keep you for a long time, and I want to keep be in your good graces. So when you become president of the United States, you can invite me over, like Tiffany was over at Go Visit in Biden. Let me ask you one more question about Tiff specifically, because I don't think that she's a bad person. Honestly, I don't. In her core, I personally believe she got drunk with power, and that's just my personal belief, just observing her. I've even had to try to have a conversation with her, obviously, and so obviously that didn't go nowhere. But I believe she just got drunk with power. I don't think at her core she's a bad person, but I believe that the more that she resists accountability for her actions, the more that she becomes the villain as far as the face of what you don't want to see Dolton is. Do you actually think that she's a good person at her core, and then agree with the idea that she's also just drunk with power?
I think she's well intentioned, and the things that she says, I think she really believes them. So I think she believes it, and she's going to keep repeating it until she does believe it, if she doesn't believe it. But I think she believes those things. But I think that I think there's a lack of maybe training or a lack of development of corporate development that is really preventing from being able to see to a real end. So I think because you look at the ideas and some of the things that come out, it's like, who wouldn't want a water park for their community, or who wouldn't want all of these things? And it sounds really good, but what is really going to take to accomplish that all the way till the end? There's just not there's not a plan, and there's not the vision or the foresight. I think it's because of a lack of training and a lack of willingness to work with those who can guide and direct her in that path.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's really unfortunate, because I know many other elected officials, and once the good thing about from what I've seen and being a trustee, and I know as a mayor and talk with other mayors, that the minute you get in that seat, everybody, well, most people, 90% of the elected officials will extend the arm out to you and say, hey, how can I help you to be better? How can I do? So the mentors are out there, but you got to have the willingness to start working with people, and the willingness to kind of humble yourself and your spirit to say, look, You've done that before. How can you help me get there?
Yeah.
And then take it and make it your own flavor, but do it the right way and do it for the people.
Yeah. I also want to give some credit to Dr. Nikita Cloud. Awesome.
I'll tell you, I almost didn't take this interview because there's no way you're going to have me come behind her. Ain't no way I'm going to come behind. I said, no, she was on there. I mean, her blunt, raw honesty, her passion, her presentation, unmatched, absolutely unmatched. And I mean, and I want to give her a shout out too. There's so many people I could shout out. Stephanie Wiederman, Nikita Cloud. We have so many amazing residents. We got Sherry, we got Mary, we got Dan Lee, and there's so many people that continue to push. So the group of trustees, we get a ton of support. Nikita specifically doesn't right now live in Dolton. She could have resigned and walked away, but she didn't. And many of the people I mentioned, some live in Dolton, some are outside of Dolton, but all care. I mean, so even though it's dark right now, I know Dolton has a bright future.
No, I think that you guys would be okay. How much longer is her term?
The next election is February of 25. So we got one more year before the election.
Ooh, that's a long year. That's a long year. Man, listen, a year is a long time when you're under fire. Jeez.
Yeah.
You know I'm praying for you, right?
Oh, well, we accept it. We really just appreciate all the outreaches and the support. So I thank you for what you've been doing in the honest reporting.
Well, listen, like I said, I'm behind you. I think that you're a great guy. I also appreciate you for even taking time out of your day to come and speak to us and speak to the people. I'm gonna continue to. I'm gonna joke, but I'm gonna continue to be objective about what it is that I see, because I don't want to ever talk about anything personal with regard to her. But I am going to just, and if she did something awesome, I'm gonna be honest. Like if she's doing something awesome or she's spinning around or something like that, I'm gonna talk about that too. You know, so I think that y'all gonna be fine. Y'all got a year ahead of y'all, so we're gonna see how that play out. But I think that y'all gonna be fine, and I think that you are absolutely a phenomenal person, man. And thank you for continuing to come on the platform, and thank you for being a servant leader for the people.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time and the platform. And I wish you continued success. And rest assured, I will be watching.
All right, thank you, my friend.
All right, take care.
All right, bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Jason House. Give me a second. Let me go answer the door. I got my door doing that. Shout out to Jason House. Give me a second, y'all. I got to get this house. I'm multitasking. Oh, y'all like the view?
That view is awesome.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate y'all.
Oh my God, the view is awesome.
What's up, big dog? What's up? Huh?
Did we just deliver to you?
Yeah.
What secret do you have that I don't know? Don't lie. I know you got it.
What secret do I have?
I'm trying to get like this. I don't know.
Huh?
I'm trying to get it like this.
Trying to get like what?
Living legend. Oh, Jesus. This is lavish, man.
Nah, I'm just trying to figure it out, bro.
No.
I know I really am, bro. I'm from the city.
Tell us.
I know I'm from the city. Real talk. Like,
I'm just being told, not told. Games be told, not told.
Nah, you know, I just grind. I just hustle. That's it. Like, I just work my ass off every day. And I just reinvest my money. I reinvest back into the people, into the city.
There we go. That's our more lucrative.
Yep. You deliver to here, or you deliver to the other spot? Oh yeah, you deliver to my other spot. Yeah. You scared of heights, big dog?
a lot of fun with that. I used to be there heights.
That one go right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Huh? They just dropped that one off Thursday?
Last week?
Yeah. Same day that y'all delivered to the other spot.
That was last week?
Yeah, that was last week. That was last Thursday. Was it last Thursday or the week before? It might have been the week before. But whenever it was that y'all delivered to my other spot, that's when you can leave it right there. Because I could just push it into place.
Is that on your way there or are you there already? You'll be there a little bit before me. You'll be there a little bit before me. I'm downtown. It's taking about 30 minutes to get to Novi. And I'm out. You sound here from the good man? Yeah, I appreciate you.
Here's a tip.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Here's a tip for your man, bro.
I can hear you. Like you spoke over your phone. I can hear you.
You're welcome, bro.
Yeah, I told you, man. That's what we do.
Y'all all set? That's it?
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you, man. I appreciate y'all.
You have a downstairs. It's downstairs, bro.
Yeah, y'all can take it downstairs.
You have a beautiful view.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Me and my woman definitely deserve this. Jesus.
All right, let me walk y'all out.
I gotta get this. Hold on 1 minute. Hello. Hello. Oh my God. Yep. I have a parachute just jump out the window, bro. I ain't gonna count.
Thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all.
Have a blessed weekend.
You too, man. All right. Y'all ready to get back to the money? Ready to get back to the live stream, y'all? They was taking selfies and stuff like that. I'm cool with it, though. I ain't tripping. As long as you tip people good and you take care of them, make sure that they good, everybody is cool. And honestly, bro, like, to be honest with y'all, I'm about to read the super chats. To be honest with y'all, I never, ever tell people what I do unless they already recognize me or they already realize what it is that I do. Like, I never, in person, like online, it's completely different. But in person, shout out to my dog, Orlando. Orlando doing some great things on you. I love Orlando's channel. Shout out to my dog, Orlando. I didn't even know that you was in the chat. Shout out to my dog. I appreciate you. But I never, ever tell people what I do. Like, I never in person, I never go into and be like, oh man, I do this, or this is what I make, or nothing like that. Whether it be with women, whether it be with people that I meet, I try to take care of them. I try to tip them good and stuff, but I never, ever say what I do. They didn't even know that I was live streaming. They didn't know. All they seen was the computer and nothing like that. They don't know what I do. They don't know what I do professionally. They don't do none of that. One of the guys actually delivered to my other spot because I bought a whole new set of furniture. So I just completely refurbished. I got rid of everything of the old spot. And I got all new furniture, all new bedroom furniture for my bedroom, all new bedroom furniture for my daughter's room, a bunch of new furniture for the whole spot. And so he was delivering new furniture. That's why y'all seen him say, hey man, when did I deliver to your other spot? And then I got all new furniture being delivered here or whatever, right? And so I never, ever, ever, ever tell people how much money I make, what I do. When I meet people in person, I just want them to just be like, have a good time, let's just have fun or whatever. I just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just slow motion. I like to have fun. I like to enjoy people. And, I just try to run it up. So y'all get to see what my life is like in real time. And that's why I'm streaming from here today instead of streaming from my studio that's 5 minutes away up the street. Somebody said how many floors is in the building. I want to ask, but I can't afford to. It's 25 floors. I'm on the top floor. It's 25 floors, and then it's the rooftop. So that's how many floors is in this building in particular, and this is the newest building in the city. So let me read some of the super chats, and then we're going to continue on with the show. Prince Elian says, I was taught and I teach forward that the most important job a leader has to learn is to follow those they lead. It will teach you how to be a better lead. Most people that you're going to have in your life is actually smarter than you. My job is not to be the smartest person in the room. My job is to provide insight and give you the tools that you need to be able to do your job more effectively. So I'm never trying to be the smartest person in the room. Kofi says, I won't be surprised if she's protected by the Democratic Party. I think she's going to jail. Talking about Tiffany Henyard. Tritegrity Incorporated says Fani and Henny be getting bussed down in every town. Y'all wow, man. Doc, shout out to the doctor. Doctor says house is joining shortly. Shout out to Nikita. I appreciate you. Dolton Trustees is in the building. Shout out to the trustees over there in Dolton. We rock with y'all. We holding y'all down. Rem 970 says I got this 20 ball for you. Shout out to Rem. Highly Offensive is in the building. Says AD tipping my hat to you. I appreciate you. Dr. Nikita says Jason House is the Jalen Hurts of politics. He has a strong team of good women around him. Yo, I don't see anything wrong with that guy. That guy need to be running for mayor immediately. If he don't run for mayor, it's something wrong. We got to convince him. King James 93 says you do not miss. You are in my ear every single weekday and sometimes on the weekend. Shout out to the people that support the platform. Make sure y'all tap into the Bag Chasers, the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Your boy is 30 today. Y'all is the greatest. Let me get a round of applause for Days Wise. Happy birthday, my friend. I appreciate you for supporting the platform. Regime says tell them to join the Bag Chasers. They know what the Chasers are. Spaces says shout out to Mr. Don't Pray For Me Anymore. JP in the building says, live example of why divesting yourself from the crowd and investing in yourself is worth it, because when the crowd sees the results, they change up. Them dudes is inspired. First time he delivered to my first spot, he was like, oh my God, the view was crazy. And then he came to this spot and he like, man, this view is crazier. When you give people the results, they start to seek out the information. You don't got to tell nobody what to do. All you got to do is be prepared to give them the information when they ready to change, all right? Let's continue to rock out. So we do have a full show to do today, so we not missing at all. We're going to go ahead and keep it moving. So Fani Willis, another one of my city girls that is out here in the streets. So yesterday, we had the privilege of being able to live stream and kind of react to what was going on with Nathan Wade when he was on the stand. And Nathan Wade largely was reserved. I mean, he was getting grilled. He was getting caught up, in my opinion. But he was pretty reserved. Pretty reserved on his relationship with Fani Willis. He even went so far as to say, listen, she basically was paying half in cash on everything was happening. Now, when we went over to After Hours last night, and we was talking on After Hours, and I reviewed and I showed y'all some of the stuff that she was talking about, she is a sassy one. I mean, this woman exhibits a level of sassy and attitude that I have never seen before in a woman, and now I'm starting to understand why women that tend to be older get more stuck in their ways, and they tend to be the ones that die along with a cat. And no matter how old or not how awesome she gets, 53 years old plus, has one of the top positions from a prosecutor's perspective or from a lawyer's perspective, all of the visibility, and got a sassy attitude. And when I say a sassy attitude, I mean a sassy attitude. Leslie Aaron says Fani is set to be on the stand today. No, as far as I know, she is not supposed to be on the stand today. Otherwise, I would have pushed out the interview and then I would have been streaming it. But they're just questioning other people around her as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know. I'll keep my ear to the street to pay attention to what was going on. But as far as I know, she is not set to take the stand today. She was only set to take the stand yesterday. I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly. Shout out to Classy Beats. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. But let me bring this up real quick, right? Let me show y'all what was happening. Give y'all a little bit of an insight into what was going on yesterday with Fani Willis?
I'm not as versed as him. He's been to 6 of the 7 continents. And so he has both a personal travel agent and he also has a cruise travel agent. I don't know anything about either of those kind of travel agents. So he is the one that would book the travel, but we need to be clear when we're talking about just because he booked it doesn't mean, like, I don't consider him having taken me anyplace. Let me just be honest. The only point that's ever taken somebody someplace is for his 50th birthday. I consider that I took him to Belize. And I took him to Belize because, you know, I don't want to discuss his personal business, but I'm happy Mr. Wade is still here with us. And I did 50 big, very big.
So still on that October Royal Caribbean cruise, even though he had a travel agent. I'm sorry?
If you do me a favor, I don't know what cruise ship, what time. So if you'll help me and say October cruise with Mama or the New Year's Eve trip with his.
Tia, you said you want me to show when she first walked in on Tia, and I'll see if I can find the footage. But she's basically breaking down the dynamics of their relationship. And I mean, it was some footage where she was basically saying, and I went over that on on After Hours yesterday, where she was like, listen, Nathan Wade basically is the type of man, he told me that all he needs from a woman is the ability to be able, for her to be able to make a sandwich. And she said, I am his equal. I am his equal, and ain't no man gonna ever be able to say or do anything for me that my father ain't already done. And she was sassy. I mean sassy. And I ain't never ever seen a woman that is a public figure like this talk this crazy. I mean, she was interrupting, she was shutting it down.
Sisters, I'll be able to, we can communicate.
Somebody said it, I think it was Connie. Connie said she gave black women back all of their stereotypes after she was on a stand yesterday. It's better than not even to say nothing.
I just don't know what ship.
October cruise with Mama. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He paid for the cruise and the flights for that trip.
So he called his cruise agent and he booked that through them because he has a cruise agent.
Right.
He also has a regular agent. I don't know the cruise agent's name.
So I wasn't asking about his travel agent. I was just asking if he paid for those.
He did not, though. Okay. Because the reason I consider that he did not is I gave him his money back.
And I was about to ask that. But initially, he paid for that.
Yeah, he called his cruise agent. Like, I think they have his card on record. They do whatever.
Okay. So initially, he paid.
He said, yeah, high value man.
Paid for the cruise and the flight to Miami and the Royal Caribbean cruise.
And my understanding of that October cruise is like it was a package the lady did for him.
Okay. So, and I'll get to the reimbursements and all that. I'm just trying to confirm he paid for the flight and the cruise in October.
And I think that when you say things that way, I want this record to be abundantly clear that he calls his travel agent, he calls his cruise agent. They do whatever he tells them. He's like on a first name basis with these people. They do it, and then he tells me how much it is, and I give him the money back. I don't, just like you're asking me about the money with Robin, I don't do my friends like that. So if you tell me it's a G, then you're going to get $1,000. If whatever it is, I didn't ever make him produce receipts to me.
Did she say you tell me it's a G? This is the woman that's literally trying to prosecute Trump. She said, if you tell me it's a G, listen, you can take the, I found the footage too. You can take them out the ghetto, but you cannot take the ghetto out of the person. You can take them out of the ghetto, but you cannot take the ghetto out of the person. Let me pull up this footage of her walking into the courtroom. Give me a second. Did she say if you tell me it's a G? Jesus Christ. Hold on. I didn't see her walking into the courtroom.
And suddenly he's changing. She files her financial declarations, same problems. We need a ready here to go over all of this and to explain exactly what happened. So
Did she just throw something on the table? Jesus, hold the fuck on. I'm sorry. It is Friday, so y'all got to give me some grace. I thought we were still on After Hours. Give me some grace.
And suddenly he's changing. She files her financial declarations, same problems. We need a ready here to go over all of this and to explain exactly what happened. So we would ask the court that the court allow Ms. Willis to be called and interrogated on these matters.
And I would too, Your Honor.
Just a moment, Ms. Willis. So, Ms. Cross, I don't know if you want to speak with Ms. Willis now. It's sounding like maybe they're withdrawing the objection to the motion.
I believe the motion to.
Or does Ms. Willis want to take the lead here?
We'll withdraw the motion to quash Ms. Willis.
Based on the. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so the position of the district attorney at this point is that she's no longer contesting the subpoena. Ms. Merchant has called her as the next witness.
I would ask, I need 3 documents in front of me, and they're the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant.
Yo, listen. Remember on this last segment where we was having a conversation with Mr. Jason House? Shout out to Jason House. Let me give him a round of applause. He deserves his flowers. Remember on the last segment where I was just giving Jason House his flowers and I said, Mr. House, are you scared of Tiffany? They're all starting to be like this. Lumpy, frumpy, attitude, and sassy. Lumpy, frumpy, attitude, and sassy. They are walking in like bulldogs. How you gonna sit down and start demanding? How you gonna sit down? Look, ladies, look. Y'all sit here and y'all talk about what men ain't gonna deal with because they can't deal with a strong woman. What you want? You want us to come over here and tame this? I'm not wrestling with no grizzly bear. Don't you see me in my city boy era? Don't you see my views? I'm in soft boy life. I'm in my soft guy life. City boy, soft boy life. Ain't nobody trying to be dealing with this chick. Listen, I'm trying to have views and have a good time. What would make a woman this crazy? Bro, do you think for even 1 second that we are supposed to go and tame this? I don't wrestle with grizzly bears. I don't wrestle with grizzly bears. Sister, do you see this? This is crazy.
Does anyone have the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant? Does the court have the 3 filings of Ms. Merchant?
Ma'am, I'm going to need you to be patient. Don't you see that everybody is scared of you right now when they all running around trying to find your 3 filings? Don't you rush me. You just asked me 15 seconds ago.
Say the filings, you mean like the pleadings?
The pleadings, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I think we could locate those for you. I mean, the supplemental.
I want the one filed on January the 8th, the one filed immediately after we filed ours, and the final one.
If you want to take a break to get them, I can make a copy. I think we have one.
You know, the only copy I have is going to have my notes on it. So if we don't have a clean copy.
We have a 5-minute break, Your Honor. I'll get the documents.
This lady is insane.
I'm not. I would advise it to all women.
So you can't identify when you came into this cash that you would pay him. You wouldn't get it out of the bank. You got cash to pay that cruise. You all flew to Aruba and spent a couple days in a hotel there, correct?
Right, and his mother was not happy.
He
and we left her
initially
behind.
paid for that. He initially paid for that.
For Aruba, yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about both of those. I know he initially paid for it. Did you pay him back?
For the cruise and for Aruba, yeah, I gave him his money before we ever went on that trip.
You gave him cash before you ever went on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you got cash to pay him back on these trips, would you go to the ATM?
No, lady.
You would not go to the ATM?
No.
Okay.
She said, no, lady. Bulldog. You actually kind of need these type of women on this team. Yo, I'm starting to question if Mr. Wade is crazy, or he got to either be crazy or he got to be a genius. Because let me tell you something. You don't jump out of a relationship where in 2015 your chick cheated on you and then you get into a relationship with a bulldog like this. Heck no. His choices in women is insane, bro.
So Fulton County pays you direct deposit, I assume?
Yes, Fulton County and the state of Georgia both pay me direct deposits.
Okay. So the cash that you would pay him, you wouldn't get it out of the bank?
I have money in my house.
You have money in your house. So it was just money that was there?
When you meet my father, he's going to tell you as a woman, you should always have, which I don't have, so let's don't tell him that. You should have at least 6 months in cash at your house at all times. Now, I don't know why this old black man feels like that, but he does. When we were growing up, my daddy had 3 safes in the house. So my father's bought me a lockbox, and I always keep cash in the house. Now,
And I don't believe her. I believe that she's lying out of her teeth. They don't want to actually go into the forensics of how it is that they've been doing their transactions. They trying to act like they've been just doing all cash transactions 100% of the time. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it even for 1 second that she's sitting on 6 months of cash, and that's the way in which she's been giving him his money back as a result of him paying for these trips. I believe they probably got into an argument, and she was like, you know what? I don't even need your stupid money. You sitting there throwing it in my face that you paying for these trips and stuff like that. In reality, I'm your boss. I'm the one that told you that you can have the raises and you can get your billable hours in the first place. I hired you. As a matter of fact, I give you your money back. I don't think even for a minute that his initial payment of this cruise came as a result of the fact that she just wanted to go 50-50 and be equal on the situation. I think that they got into a drag down, knock down argument, and she was like, I give you your little money back, but now they don't want to get themselves in trouble and get themselves disqualified and recused from this case. And so now they acting and pretending like they just got a whole bunch of money sitting in their house. What is you, YSL? You a drug dealer now? Stop it, bro. Stop it.
Now, I don't do it to the degree that my father would do it, so he would probably be ashamed with me, but I always have cash at the house. That has been, I don't know, all my life. If you're a woman and you go on a date with a man, you better have $200 in your pocket, so if that man acts up, you can go where you want to go. So I keep cash in my house. And
who need cash like that? Who needs 6 months worth of cash? Who need 100 bands in their crib?
I don't keep cash as good in my purse like I used to. I don't go on many dates, but when you go on a date, you should have cash in your pocket.
So my question was, where did that cash originally come from, if it didn't come out of the bank?
Cash is fungible. I've had cash for years in my house. So for me to tell you the source of when it comes from, when you go to Publix and you buy something, you get $50, you throw it in there. It's been my whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you I just have cash in my house, I don't have as much today as I would normally have, but I'm building back up now. So you just put money in. It's a very good practice. I would advise it to all women.
So you can't identify when you came into this cash or where the cash came from?
I didn't say I couldn't identify it. No, nobody gives me anything. I am sure that the source of the money is always the work, sweat, and tears of me. What you asked me for is, when did the money go in there? What I am trying to tell you is, so I got divorced in 2005 from my husband.
I can see why. Somebody get the ex-husband on the stand, because we need to see who this guy is and why he was even putting up with this in the first place.
No. It's important. You said, where did the money come from? And I need to tell you where the money came from. And so for many, many years, I have kept money in my
Shout out to the super chats. I'm going to read those shortly.
House. That money in my worst days has probably only been $500 or $1,000. At my best days, I probably had $15,000 in my house at cash. At all times, there's going to be cash in my house or wherever I'm laying my head.
The money that you paid Mr. Wade, the cash, in October of 2022, you do not know where that money came from?
I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
You know which job it came from?
She's talking with a grit on her teeth. I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
Did it come from Fulton County or did it come from a private job?
It came from, what are you talking about? So it could have come from a private job, because before I was DA, I was in private practice. So I earned money during that time period that's probably in there.
You don't know
could have, what do you mean I don't know where it came from?
I understand the situation. We can move on.
Okay, thanks. Same with Aruba. You don't know where that cash came from either, right?
Ma'am, you are mischaracterizing my testimony greatly. I'm not going to allow you to mischaracterize my testimony. I know that I keep money in my house. The amounts of money I gave Mr. Wade, it was never that serious. I don't think I've ever handed him more than $2,500 in a reimbursement. So we're not talking about $20,000 in cash. I don't have $20,000 in cash right now. The most I ever gave him, I know I gave him $2,500 when we went to Belize, because we went to one hotel and then we went to a second hotel. That $2,500 I actually gave him while we were still in Belize. I know that the Aruba trip, the one that you described with his mom, I think I gave him about $2,000 for that trip, for like total.
His mom went to Aruba with you?
The Aruba trip. So I consider that to be one trip. So we got off of a cruise ship and then we went to Aruba, which is why I cannot remember is that the time that we had to stay in Miami to wait for the flight for Aruba. So I consider that one trip, but we didn't like come back to Atlanta and leave. We flew down to Miami. We got on a cruise ship. We spent a couple of days with his mama. We came back to Miami. When we came back to Miami, either that day or the next day, we flew to Aruba. We spent a few days in Aruba and we came back. That was really one trip. Even though we went two places, it was one trip.
So let's talk about the California trip. Is that when you were moving your daughter out to California? When you all went, or did you have two trips to California?
My daughter doesn't live in California.
Did she ever live in California?
I'm not discussing to you the location of my child.
So how many times did you go with Mr. Wade to California?
Once.
And you all stayed in Napa Valley and he paid for the plane tickets and the hotel?
He paid for the plane tickets and the hotel.
And what did you pay for on that trip?
I gave him much less cash that time, probably $400 or $500, and then I paid for a bunch of stuff. I think we did 2 different wine tours that you do, which are pretty expensive. I think I bought him, he likes wine. I don't really like wine, to be honest with you. I like Grey Goose. I bought him a
This chick is the most ghetto. I don't know if the ghetto-ness was intentional in order to throw us off for the reason that she was there in the first place. I don't know how she came to become the Fulton County DA. Maybe this is just an indictment on Georgia in its entirety. Did this chick just say, I don't like wine, I like Grey Goose? Did she just say, I don't like wine, I like Grey Goose? Jesus Christ. High value men dealing with these, just because they got a good job don't mean that they a high caliber woman. Just because they got a good job does not mean that they are a higher caliber woman. Man, I'm trying to tell you that this is insane. And y'all the ones that put her in this position in the first place. Good God Almighty. I can't believe what I'm watching right now. I should have just reviewed this video on the Anton Daniels channel for my review video for today. Jesus Christ.
A bottle of wine while we were there, and the sippings that you do. I can't remember how many, like 4 or 5 different places you go. I remember we went to this place that they do pairings. That was the most expensive thing that I think that we did while we were there. So they would pair champagne, chocolate, and caviar. It was a 3, and it was like 3 different things: Sweden, Russia, someplace else. I'll make that up. But that was the most expensive thing we did that trip, and I paid for that.
You pay cash
for us doing that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that trip did not cost me a lot of money. I might have took like $750 in cash on me because we weren't gone very long.
I'd only asked if you paid in cash. I don't need to know the amounts.
When I travel, I always take cash.
And is the cash that you keep in your house, or do you keep it at the condo that you were living in?
So at that point, it wouldn't be at my house, and I'm sorry if I was not clear. The money would be wherever I laid my head. So I wouldn't leave the money at the house.
So you just...
I was unclear. No. The money's going to be where I stay.
How much did you pay for your trip to Panama?
To where?
Panama, I believe.
I didn't go to Panama.
I may have the location wrong.
I never went to Panama.
So after
Mr. Wade went to Panama with his frat brother.
Oh, he went to Panama with his frat brothers. So tell me about, let's see. So I want to make sure I've got them. I've got Belize. You already covered Belize. You covered the...
So let me tell you our real trips. In October, we went on the cruise with his mom. We got back from the cruise with his mom and we went to Aruba. I consider that one trip. Second trip, New Year's Eve, we went on a cruise to the Bahamas. That's the second trip. I want to make sure I get this right. Third trip, 100% on me. I think he might have spent $200 on that entire trip. We went to Belize. That was my trip. That was, his 50th. And then Napa Valley, we went around May. I don't know the dates, but it seems to me like it was close to Mother's Day.
And those are the only trips?
So that the record is complete, I can remember one time driving to, where were we? South Carolina, and we met my sister for lunch with her man.
When was that?
I don't know, but we didn't stay the night there. But I guess people would consider that a trip if you drive somewhere and you come back. That was insane because it was like 5 hours to drive. We ate lunch and we drove right back. I can remember driving to some little town in Georgia. I don't even know where I was. I had never been there before or after. There's some boat you can get on over to, and there's like a slave thing, if that gives anyone any reference. We didn't do that. I remember doing that. I remember driving one time to Charlotte. We had lunch with one of my very close girlfriends, and again, we drove to Charlotte, met my girlfriend for lunch, and drove right back. So that's a trip. We didn't stay the night there, but I just want to be complete in my testimony. We drove someplace, had lunch, drove back.
I agree, Tia.
I don't remember another driving somewhere.
I agree, Miss Bella.
For lunch and coming back to Charlotte to see a girlfriend, to meet my sister in South Carolina. We went by ourselves when I told you about that remote place in Georgia. We could have driven someplace else and had lunch and came back, but that's all that comes to my recollection right now. There could have been another place we drove and had lunch. My security team was very clear to me. I'm not to be out and about in Atlanta without them. And so for me to do something just very normal that a normal person would get to do if they weren't prosecuting this case, I got to drive 4 hours to do it.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Your security detail, did they take you to and from your house?
So I haven't been able to enjoy my home.
Condo, I'm sorry.
And March.
Where you lay your head? Did they take you to and from where you lay your head?
99% of the time.
Would they take Mr. Wade to and from wherever you laid your head?
That has never in the history of ever happened. Ever, okay?
Your security team has never.
I think that this is the most ghetto woman that I've ever seen in my life in a position of power. I think that this is the most ghetto woman that I've ever seen in my life in a position of power. This is insane. I'm going to make videos about this for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to discuss this on the Q show next Monday. Wow, 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 wow. I am so floored by what I'm seeing right now. It is nothing short of incredible. Let's stop there. Because we're going to slow roast this and we're going to come back to that. But my point that I wanted to emphasize to you guys is that Fani Willis is insane. And I think that the whole state of Georgia outside of the governor's office might be insane also. Crazy, lying. I told y'all that this woman is evil and she need to repent. And then they had the nerve to let this chick stand in the pulpit and preach a sermon. I be God. Gerald Davis says, hey, D, watching from Hawaii, is the key to streaming consistency no matter what? Is that building and the back tied to auto industry? Talking about that one right there. That's General Motors headquarters. General Motors headquarters is in Detroit. That is GM's headquarters right there. That's the Renaissance Center. Yep, that is the Renaissance Center. And the key to being successful in anything is consistency. So, yep, that is the Renaissance Center right there. What we used to call Cobo Hall, but actually it's called Huntington Place now. So yes, that is General Motors headquarters. I appreciate you. Class E Beats is in the building. Says thank you for everything, AD, for real, huge inspiration to me. Shout out to my guy, Class E Beats sister. Told you getting that applause. Mr. AD, what did Wade's ex-wife look like? They never showed her. And I'm assuming that she didn't want to be found, so I never looked her up. I'm sure I could have found a picture of her if I really wanted to. But I don't want to expose people that don't necessarily want to be exposed. Young Wells says, salute to you, Anton. Keep us all informed and entertained. You know I'm on top of it. I'm the greatest morning show ever. Iceberg Slim is in the building. Says, Fani Willis looked like a ghetto Power Ranger. Brittany B says she need a slip apostolic raise. She need a lot of things. Iceberg and an attitude adjustment. Iceberg Slim says, I cross the street when I see women like Fani. I'm scared. I am genuinely scared. AL says, gotta take into account she's a DA, so she's at home in that courtroom. Everyone in there works for her. She's a big dog and is very comfortable. That don't mean you gotta have a bad attitude and you gotta eat. She don't even drink Grey Goose. She eat Grey Goose. Jacquel says, shout out to Anton. You are inspiring the people by showing the hard work, faith in God through good works, our blessing, success from the Lord. From the Lord, with the TN at the end. A TN at the end. Rod Jones says, let's not forget that Christopher Darden and Marcia Clark had a relationship in the OJ case. Marcia was nasty as well. I don't like either of their attitudes. It's almost like women that get in these positions get sad. They get nasty. Brittany B says, I have cash envelopes and it came from GM. Jay Ben says, hope the hood isn't watching. She on trial openly becoming a lick by over answering questions. Her daddy didn't teach her how to keep answers short, sweet, and concise. Iceberg Slim goes on to say, I have the urge to visit ATL. They bouge ghetto ratchets irritate my spirit. He said, I have no urge to visit ATL. Sister, says Mr. AD, did she just say she doesn't really like wine? The devil is a lie. Listen, some of y'all might be a little bit more cultured than her. J. Ben says, Boosie plays in the background, loose off the goose. You know what I'm saying? That lady is crazy. AL says, you would never hear a regular person talk like this without the judge and opposing lawyers holding her in contempt or treating as a hostile witness. Well, she is the big dog, ain't she? AJY says, Fani got that brown paper bag money. Brock goes on to say, pass a love offering. Thank you, brother Brock. I appreciate you. Jamal Fowler says, peace, King. Just sliding through. Slide. Y'all know I'm a skater, right? I do everything bad. I do everything better than these dudes. Jay Noir 89 says, what's really interesting is to see whether or not she gets jammed up for admitting to using campaign funds to pay back wage. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. We got more in the show. Listen, I told y'all, when we got a full show, we got a full show. We got to get to it. Let's continue. Migrant crisis is on the rise. And the people are mad that the migrant crisis is continuing to, People are mad that the migrant crisis is continuing to overwhelm the United States of America.
New from overnight, the suspect charged in an attack on police officers in Times Square is back in court on new charges.
This time he's accused of shoplifting in Queens. CBS News' Christina Fan joins us live from outside Queens County Criminal Court in Kew Gardens with the latest on this case. Christina.
Chris and Mary, good morning. As you guys just mentioned, one of the suspects wanted in connection to the Times Square assault is now being accused by police of being a part of a group of people that beat up and assaulted an employee at a Queens Macy's department store while trying to shoplift nearly $600 worth of clothing. It is also raising questions, including from Governor Hochul, why he was released from custody in the first place. 19-year-old Darwin Andres Gomez Iskel was back in court Thursday, this time in a different borough and on new charges, accused of being the lookout for a group of shoplifters at the Macy's in Queens Center Mall. Police say this alleged crime happening just weeks after he was accused of grabbing and kicking officers in Times Square.
So basically these dudes has formed gangs. They have formed like whole groups of evil people that's going around and terrorizing New York City. You have a new community of people that has come into your city. They have no real names. You don't know what their background is. We don't know their father, their mother. We don't know their lineage. We can't trace them back to anywhere. And they are in the city, destroying the city.
The law needs to change. Those who assault New York City police officers need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Gomez Iskel was charged with second-degree assault and released following the attack on cops, only to be picked up again Wednesday for robbery and petty larceny. Governor Hochul argues that current bail laws would have allowed for Gomez Iskel to be held on Rikers Island after his first arrest, if the DA had requested it, which he did not.
I've said all along that I thought that bail should have been requested, given the severity of what they did.
Gomez Iskel isn't the only suspect circling the law's revolving door. Law enforcement sources tell CBS.
Y'all know that that's the hotel where they're staying at, right? That right there is their residence. That's the hotel that they're staying at.
Too, that his co-defendants, Kelvin Servita Arocha and Wilson Juarez, were taken into custody by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, after they were also released without bail. But freed from custody now is Yohenry Brito, accused of instigating this whole fight. He made his $15,000 bail after spending a week on Rikers Island.
We've always made it clear that the small number of people who are repeated offenders should be addressed accordingly.
How do these guys get 15 bands in bail money? That's all I want to know. How do migrants that don't have jobs get 15 bands in bail money? Listen, y'all can't even, most Americans can't come up with $500 to $1,000 in an emergency. They not even sitting in jail. If they not getting released, they coming up with bail money. If they not getting released, they coming up with bail money.
And the Manhattan District Attorney's Office says most of the suspects charged and arrested in connection to the Times Square assault are expected to be due back in court tomorrow. That would be Friday. For now, reporting live from Queens Criminal Court, Christina Fan, CBS 2 News.
Christina, thank you.
We don't have the tax base to handle it. It's a money pit. And you guys are responsible for our
Somebody said that's only $1,500 bond. Yeah, because you're paying 10%. Where you get $1,500 from? You ain't got no job, Tommy. You ain't got no job, Tommy.
money. Don't screw it up. You guys are famous for screwing things up.
Really intriguing story. This is a neighborhood, a town just west of Denver, Colorado. Frustration on this border matter boiling over at that city council meeting. Residents say their hard-earned tax dollars are going toward migrants and that resources are simply being overwhelmed. Alicia Cunha in Denver on this tug-of-war and where it goes next. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Yeah, the crowd was at capacity at the Lakewood City Council meeting last night. This is a community of roughly 154,000 people, about 7 miles west of Denver. And folks who live in that suburb came out to voice concerns over actions they say their city is taking amid worry it could lead to an influx of immigrants. This as the city voted on a housing plan and whether or not to accept a $9.3 million grant for a, quote, navigation center for the unhoused.
You're going to incentivize something that you're not going to be able to deal with long term.
Citizens of Lakewood are drowning, and you're all talking about adding more water.
Everybody's taxes are going to end up going up, and the crime is going to become incredible, just like.
So part of what people don't understand, because they look at the big number and they say, oh my God, $9+ million, you know, this money can come in. What y'all don't realize is that the true cost of these migrants coming into y'all cities is exorbitant, probably north of 50, 60, 70 million dollars, short and long term, because you also got to take into consideration resources, social services, schooling, crime, when they commit crimes, resources in order to house them, jails, 3 hots and a cot, unsustainability and being able to continue to fund this, because you got to get the money from somewhere. See, a grant is a one-time payment. It's not something that allows for you to be able to sustain. And so what happens is, well, you got to get the money from somewhere. So first you cut resources. And when you can't cut anymore, you cut it all the way to the bone. You don't recruit any more police officers. You can't do anything else. Well, what do? You tax the people more. And so it then becomes a burden on you, society, for you to continue to help these people be and do the things that they're not supposed to be here being and doing in the first place. And so this is the conversation that a lot of people don't have. They say, well, it ain't my money. What do I care? Yes, it is. And you're going to be paying more as a result of it. See, when we were having a conversation with Mr. House, and the fact that property taxes is so high over in Dolton, despite the fact that they have, it's not a really, really big, significant town, that tells you all that you need to know as far as the mismanagement of the city. When you see a lot of these places and they have an exorbitant amount of property taxes, but they have the most terrible services and the leadership that's running it, is a reflection on the leadership. And a reflection on the leadership is also allowing for taxpayer dollars to go towards things that's not beneficial for the people. It's bad enough that they're dealing with inflation. It's bad enough that they're dealing with stuff that's happening in their communities. It's bad enough that we don't have enough police on the streets in order to prevent crime, or at least divert crime, or prevent people from performing crime, because they know that they're going to get caught. Now they got to deal with the fact that they have an influx of people in here committing crimes. Then your tax dollars is not only going to go towards funding them to be in here, but also to prosecuting them and catching them and all of this stuff. And we already ain't even got enough police that's on the street in the first place.
New York City.
Council members say the proposed 100-bed navigation center would serve as a transitional home, providing job training and addiction and mental health services, mostly for those already in Lakewood.
Worse, both the housing plan and a navigation center and any other social resource may in fact support people who have immigrated here. I cannot build a wall between us and Denver. That's not City Council's job.
Lakewood City Manager says they have had one informational meeting with Denver officials on how Lakewood can help with Denver's homeless and migrant overcrowding, and said there are no concrete plans to provide housing or services to those populations. Lakewood City Council meeting went on for 7 hours, and late into the night, the proposed Navigation Center grant was accepted with a vote of 10-1. Bill?
And they still accepted it, knowing that long term, this is absolutely going to destroy what's happening in your community. Anyways, so before I finish reading Super Chats for the day, I want to share with you guys one more thing. Just one more thing, all right? We got to go into Brandon Johnson. Now, this whole thing has been about holding people accountable, and largely we've seen women bring themselves to the front of the congregation. But don't let one bad thing or one good thing spoil the whole bunch. You know what I'm saying? Because Brandon, he said, listen, Anton, I know you thought that I was going to be quiet for the next week and that you was going to give Chicago a reprieve, but I'm back. And not only am I back, I'm touting and talking about how great of a job I'm doing over here in the city of Chicago. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Y'all got to see what Mayor Mohawk is talking about.
After 10 months at the helm of City Hall, Mayor Brandon Johnson is defending his record and a full-page ad in the Sunday paper combating criticism of his progressive agenda.
WGN political reporter Taman Bradley caught up with the mayor this afternoon, and he's joining us now with more. Taman?
Good evening. It was only a matter of time. Mayor Johnson and allies who've taken fire for their handling of the migrant crisis, a perceived lack of transparency, and bad messaging are pushing back hard, campaign style.
067.
It's a favorite for politicians, a way to reach a reliable voting constituency, a bingo game for seniors. Today, someone not on the ballot again for another 3 years, Mayor Brandon Johnson stopped by.
Over these first 10 months, I've had the privilege of serving the greatest city in the world.
In brief remarks, Johnson
hold on. I want y'all to see something really quickly. When you look at this crowd, and I want y'all to see the games that's being played by these politicians. When you look at this crowd, what do you see? Some people are going to say one thing that I'm not going to say on the Millionaire Morning Show because that's more or less something that I would go into on After Hours. Other people are going to say other things that I wouldn't say on the Millionaire Morning Show because that's something that I would reserve for After Hours. But when you go into this and you see this, when you see all of the cotton and the nylon and the cotton stockings, and when you get past all of the colored hair and everything like that, right? What do you see? Where do you see him stopping to advocate and talk and propose? You got it, Antonio Watkins. Older black women. Not only older black women, all women. Where do you go and find women? Two places. Church and the bingo hall. Church and the bingo hall. Now, here's the thing. This is the demographic of people that's actually going to go out and vote. Yes. Listen. When we say, okay, Houston's recent election, and the only reason they had that high of a voter turnout rate, which was less than 8% for their recent runoff for their mayoral election, the only reason that they had that level of visibility as far as people going out and voting is because that mayor had become so bad and corrupt over in Houston that people had to when they felt like they needed to get some visibility. Hold on. Look at me. I'm getting DM'd on my work computer. Give me a second. See, Anton is on top of it now. They're not going to sit here and keep saying, oh, Anton, you're not on top of things. No, Anton is on top of things. Somebody pinging me. They didn't think that I was going to be online. I'm online. Who pinging me? Who pinging me? But anyways, my point is that they know what they're doing. Y'all hear that? That ain't nothing but Microsoft Teams. Shout out to Microsoft Teams. We on top of it. Okay, I got you. I got you, big dog. We own it. Right after this live stream, I'm going to get right to you. Anyways, they know what they're doing. They know who to go talk to. They know who to get in touch with. They know who's going to be the voters. They know who to play on their emotions. They know whose bingo game to go and interrupt. They know who to talk to. They know. And so he takes an opportunity at night to go and kick it with these ladies, Mama Sadies. And guess what he's doing? He's going over there to tout his greatness.
For another 3 years, Mayor Brandon Johnson stopped by.
Over these first 10 months, I've had the privilege of serving the greatest city in the world.
In brief remarks, Johnson ticked off a list of his accomplishments. The message.
Look at how old these women are. When I look at this picture, I don't smell nothing but Bengay, Crisco oil, and diabetes treatments. Bengay, Crisco oil, and diabetes treatments. Why is everybody trying to call me at the same time? Hey, Leslie, I'm on a live stream. What's up, baby?
I forgot. I'm sorry.
What's up, baby? What's up, baby?
Oh, I was just calling to check to say hi.
Oh, you so sweet.
I made weight.
You made weight?
Yeah, I didn't have to do sauna this time. I did it naturally.
Oh, you so sweet. I love you so much.
Love you too.
How's your trip been so far?
Pretty good, pretty chill.
You been chilling?
Yeah.
You ready to come home?
Yeah, and eat and drive.
You ready to come home and drive? Somebody got their license?
Finally.
You like your allowance? Your bump up in allowance?
Definitely.
You didn't know how much you was getting, did you?
No, I didn't know.
Was you expecting that?
Yeah, I kind of knew, but not really.
What was you about to say? Actually, what?
Kinda, I did kind of know a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna call you as soon as I get off the live stream, baby.
Okay, love you.
All right, I love you too, honey. Bye-bye. I love my daughter. I love being a father, and I love my daughter. Let me tell you something. She didn't say she made a wig. She said she made weight. She's in a taekwondo competition, and so she has to make sure that she makes weight. She trains very, very hard at a certain weight, and then she got to make sure that she cuts weight in order to make sure that she competes in a certain competition. She didn't make a wig. She made weight, all right? My daughter is an athlete. She's very, 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 very serious about being an athlete. I love being a father. Anyways, let's get into this Brandon Johnson. Let's finish this up really quickly.
In brief remarks, Johnson ticked off a list of his accomplishments. The message mirrored this ad placed in the Chicago Sun-Times this past weekend by an unknown group called Southside Chicagoans. They tout progressive legislative victories under the headline, Mayor Brandon Johnson is the people's mayor.
People are excited about what we've delivered over the last 10 months, as they should be. $250 million into the unhoused, $100 million for violence prevention.
After months of criticism from the right and left, Johnson holding up his progressive victories may seem like a shift in strategy, but the mayor insists he's not changed messaging.
We've been very consistent with our message from the very beginning. When I announced my candidacy over a year ago, I said we were going to eliminate sub-minimum wage. We did that. I said we're going to pass paid time off. We did that. I said we're going to invest more in youth employment. We've done that. I said we're committed to hiring more detectives. We're doing that.
Whether it's a shift or not, some say Johnson is just not connecting. Radio talk show host and former candidate for alderwoman Kimberly Agowan says African Americans are losing patience with Johnson.
In a community like ours, especially for those of us who've been here our entire lives, we're not satisfied with some of the trends that we're seeing. I mean, right where we stand, we just had someone murdered right across the street at a convenience store. We had the first murders of the year in our ward.
Agowan does point out that Chicago mayors often struggle to communicate with the South and West sides.
There are a lot of people who did put a lot of faith in this administration. There's still time. There's still time. Don't get me wrong. We're only 9 months in. But we want to see something happen for our community so that we can remain in our community.
Another big test and opportunity for Johnson will come on March 19th, when voters will be asked to give City Council the power to alter the real estate transfer tax to generate $100 million annually to combat homelessness.
And what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? What it basically means is they're going to be giving you more fees and more money is going to be coming out of y'all paychecks. And they're trying to figure out how to raise more money to plug in the holes of the budgets. And just because they walk around at these community organization meetings where it smells like Ben Gay, it does not mean that they're actually doing the thing that's in the best interest of the people. At some point, I would like to see a politician come by, a local politician come by and say, hey, we got to work on figuring out how we can lower your property taxes. Somehow, we got to drive costs out. Listen, if I'm running for something, right? If I'm running for mayor, if I'm running for governor, if I'm running for any local seat as a politician, my number one goal is to cut costs, but not just cut costs, increase efficiency. Increasing efficiency means that we should be able to do more with less, but we should be less reliable on the government for jobs, while also increasing our police presence, because without safety and technology, we need to. All right, let me give y'all my campaign pitch. I'm not running for nothing, all right, because I ain't got time for this nonsense, and they don't make enough money for me, but I'm not running for nothing. This is my campaign pitch. Listen, guys, my policies is going to be centered around driving out crime. In order to drive out crime, got to invest in our police force. We got to make sure that we paying our police force a decent wage, better than anybody that's around us, and that allows for us to recruit better. And we got to equip them with the technology and the resources to do their job efficiently. Because there's nothing better than getting somebody that loves to do their job, serves their community, lives and works here, keeps their money in community, and then also can get home safely. So we want to make sure that we're not just solving for crime, but we want to be proactive with crime. The second thing that we got to do, guys, is we got to invest in education. And the only way that we can invest in education is making sure that we drive out the things that's driving away the dollars that we can put towards education, all right? We're not going to rely on the state lottery, but the way that the money goes into the education system is to make sure that we're paying property taxes. Now, the goal isn't to pay more in property taxes. I want to drive down property taxes, but I want to build more communities. So the more people that we have wanting to move into and then taking up the empty spaces, because the city owning these spaces doesn't generate more revenue, but what it would does is it would allow for us to put more money per pupil into the schools. So we got to become efficient, we got to become safe, and we got to drive out the costs. The costs are things that we are not actually using to benefit us. It's the things that people are taking away from us. It's these social services and these programs. Now, I'm not proposing to get rid of social services completely, but we need to put a limit on the amount of time that people can be on social services, because it's not supposed to be for you to live off of for the rest of your life. It's supposed to be to throw you a lifeline in case anything happens, to help you get back on your feet. If you don't want to live here, if you don't want to be on top of things, then you're going to have to find another community to stand in. But we are going to invest in our people. We are going to invest in the infrastructure. And the more businesses and jobs and tourism that we can get coming into the city is the more revenue that we can generate to then build all of the infrastructure, add more value into your school systems, and making sure that we safe, which then fosters the environment for things to naturally grow. And we need to lower the amount that we spend in government and heighten the amount that we invest in people. If we are not investing in each other, we will not win. All we doing is kicking the buck forward, and we do not need to leverage ourselves in order to continue to support people that's outside of this community coming into this community. We are not a sanctuary city. We are not aligning ourselves with anybody from a political perspective. We are going to do the thing that's in the best interest of who it is that lives in this city and in this town. And if our kids can't be educated, focused, dedicated, and if we can't put the resources towards the people, then we don't have anything, because the better you are, the better we are. The better you are, the better we are. That's my promise to you. That's my campaign proposal. Listen, whatever side of the ticket that I got to run on, as far as Republican or Democrat, you pick one. But the policies are the most important. The people are the most important. And if we can't protect our own, then who is it? Because we can't expect anybody to come and invest in our city unless we invest in ourselves first. I need y'all to start telling on who it is that's doing a crime in the community, because I'm coming for y'all. And if I find out that you harboring criminals, you going down with them. So either you can turn them in or you can turn over. Get down or lay down. No, let me stop. Get down or lay down. That's my campaign promise to you. Get down or lay down. We not doing no identity politics. The best person for the job is the person that's going to get the job. We need our budgets balanced. We need our police staff full. We're going to get a recruitment service to get the best police possible, and we're going to give them the best benefits, and we're going to take care of business. We need to rethink everything. If we need to get away from pensions and start going more into pouring into people's 401ks, because we can't have these legacy costs, if we need to increase revenue by making sure that we charge for this particular service and this particular service, and anybody that comes into it and this and that and so on and so forth, if we need to create tax incentives for companies to come over here and create jobs and guarantee that they're going to be successful, then hey, I'm all ears. I want to listen to the people that's smarter than me, because I'm just here to put you in a position to win. That's my campaign promise to you. I'm here for you. Would I be a good politician? Yeah, I'm here for you, ladies and gentlemen. You ain't about to get me to run for no office. You can forget that. You ain't about to get me to run for no office. You ain't about to get me to take no pay cut to be over here serving people that don't give a fuck about me. You can forget it. You can forget it. Get down or lay down. That's my campaign slogan. Get down or lay down. Let me read some of these super chats and we're going to get y'all up out of here for the day. It's Friday. Oh, we got a show tomorrow too. We got to do the makeup show for tomorrow. We got to do a makeup show for tomorrow. So for those of y'all that thought that y'all was going to get away for not because we had to live stream the whole Nathan Wade situation. So we might have to do a makeup show for tomorrow. I don't know. I might just formulate it, or I might just pre-record it. I don't know. I got to figure out what that is. But yeah, man, great show, great time. It's been a great week. We getting down to it. My dog Jamal Fowler says, "I bet you're not a better bowler. I bet you I am. I bet you I am. I'm good at everything. I'm a Renaissance man." Pookie's friend Ray Ray says, "I took a boatload of them folks to Venezuela last night. Apparently, they don't like it there. They don't like it here." Will the CNA running it up out there says, "Oh, now you scared. Reminds me of the movie Independence Day when they were welcoming aliens. Then they came through with that smoke. Yeah. Tres Krishneda says, "AD, migrants are coming into the country from Canadian border as well." Yeah, I seen that. That's going to be a part of my research that I do for next week when we live stream next week. Chris James says, "Patreon video on how to be a father. I need that." Hey, listen, man, it's nothing more satisfying as a leader of my household, my community, and of the Chasers, and seeing people become successful, whether it be my daughter, whether it be you guys, or whether it be the people that work for me. I love you. I celebrate your victories. I celebrate your successes. We have Stock Club coming up this weekend, so we're going to be deep diving into stocks and what it is that we need to be investing in. That's going to be on Sunday. I got to figure out how we're going to do it and how we're going to take care of things and get to the bag. But let me tell you something. Nothing is more important to me than your success. And why is that? Because when you become great, I become great. I love you guys. I genuinely love you guys. You are the greatest audience on earth. Honestly. I'm not going to let a week or a day goes by without me saying how much I love you. I'm genuinely appreciative. I'm genuinely appreciative. I love you guys. Seriously. I feel like we a family, man. I don't know what I would do without being able to see y'all. I love y'all, man. Real talk. I'm about to put together my Dyson. Woo! Got me a new vacuum. Hey, you know you grown when you got you a vacuum. You know you grown when you got you a vacuum. Listen, I don't want to see no money phones on your ear. I want to see vacuums. I don't want to see no money phones on your ear. I want to see vacuums. Listen, if you ain't got a new vacuum, don't talk to me. If you ain't sitting on a new vacuum, don't talk to me. I don't care nothing about no money phone. Boy, don't you know that this is the Dyson V15 Detect Submarine, boy? Hold on, let me spin this around. Don't you know that this is the new Dyson V15 Detect Submarine? It's a 3-in-1 in this joint, boy. Plug it up, and you go. Look at this. It goes for washes, reveals, detangles. Woo-wee! Don't you know that this lasts up to 60 minutes, boy? 240 volts, 60 minutes, 8 pounds, 0.2 gallons. It's an all-in-one wet and dry vacuums that removes spills, tough stains, and hard floors. Hey, Dyson, hold on. Can I get my sponsorship or no? I'm not about to be supporting y'all, giving y'all no free advertisement. Send me my check. That's an $800-900 vacuum right there. Send me my check. Get y'all vacuum game up. I know y'all over there saying, "No, I don't need no Dyson. I need me a Bissell." Dyson, send me my check. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I need y'all to do. Oh, hold on. Let me get this one more super chat, and then I'm going to get it popping. Saeed Max says, "Governor Daniels, my name is Shayi. By the way, just adding to the collection basket. I appreciate you, big dog. Thank you for supporting the platform and supporting the show. You are awesome, and you appreciate it. But I need y'all to do me one more favor before we get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you share this with your family and friends. We don't want to be successful by ourselves. I love you. I appreciate you. Yeah, I had a Kirby too. The mugs is heavy. Heavy. But in order to get you a Kirby, they be coming into your crib like, hey, want me to vacuum your mattress? I know what it is. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Thank y'all. Peace.